This is Fireman Ed, and you're listening to Jets Commute, Monday through Friday from 8 to 10 a.m. Jet fans, let's rock MetLife Stadium this year. J-E-T-S, Jets, Jets, Jets. Go Jets! This is Fireman Ed, and you're listening to Jets Commute, Monday through Friday from 8 to 10 a.m. Jet fans, let's rock MetLife Stadium this year. J-E.
What's up? You hear me, office? Uh-oh. Nick, can you hear me? All right. You can hear me, Buckeye?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Terrible game last night in
Yeah.
Minnesota.
That cost Sam a lot of money.
Yeah, I'm not. You know what, too, man? I'm not. I'm sorry. I'm not. Listen, I'm not saying that Flores is going to be the guy here, but they put Minnesota in a bad spot. The offense,
Mm-hmm.
So when your quarterback doesn't play good, the defense usually doesn't.
Yep.
So they got to get McCarthy in here for an interview, man,
I think that should be the absolute got to get it done.
and pay the guy. He's experienced. We all want an. I want an experienced coach. Fuck
Yep.
that.
Yep.
So,
Pete, he's got a better resume than Vrabel.
well, that is true. And you know who he's familiar with?
Aaron
Buckeye.
Rodgers.
Yeah. I wonder if he would bring him back, though.
That's a good question. I don't know. It's mostly about the cap problem that causes, man.
Yeah. Again, you could bring up what you were going to bring up yesterday, but I'll wait. Zach, good morning.
Good morning, Pete. Good morning, Buckeye.
Good morning. I'm
Oh, I see Terrence there. Good
Thank
morning.
you.
Listen, all that all that talk about us trading for J.J. McCarthy, it was so laughable then, and it's worse now that we thought that I have to say outside of him getting them to a Super Bowl, Sam Darnold was never going to be the quarterback. They weren't keeping him.
Meek.
You
You
there?
believe in this Deion Sanders rumor stuff with Dallas or no?
No, it's to get Dion an extension and get Jerry in the headline. I tweeted, I'd give it like a 0.001% chance. He's
You say,
severely
so you say
underqualified.
there's a chance.
Not really. I mean, it's just because he's getting an interview. He's just very underqualified. And he's Jerry's buddy.
And plus, I think Dion said thanks, but no thanks anyway.
You'll see an extension here soon from Colorado. He'll take the interview, Zach. If anyone pays attention to Jerry, I mean, he'll take the interview. It'll be the only interview of the day. It'll be a big deal. That's what he wants. People get fooled by it. I don't know how.
What does he got left with Colorado? What's his contract left?
I have no idea. But I said it yesterday. If the Cowboys hire him, I'm picking a new team.
Oh,
I,
stop.
No, I swear. That's the most unserious move a team could ever make. He's so underqualified.
I
How is
bet
he
you.
underqualified?
Petey, he's coached for like 3 years. He's never won. Every year his teams he improved Colorado. Like every year his team still can't block. He has the same issues. He's not a coach. He's a recruiter.
I think you're safe. You're not going to have to pick a new team. I think it's gonna be that guy Kellen Moore. I think at the end of the day he'll go through all these, and that's who
You know
exactly
what's
who.
interesting,
Or
Zach?
Jason Witten. There you go, Jason Witten.
Yeah, he's more qualified than probably more qualified than Dion. But
But how?
you know what?
How?
But don't you
Jason Witten
He's
never
being
coached.
sarcastic.
You know what's
but don't
interesting?
you think he already has a plan? Like in order for him
Well,
to let McCarthy go.
no.
So really,
Here's the interesting
I
part,
mean,
Terrence. So since I was gonna bring this up, this may this may affect other teams' process because of how dumb Jerry is. So since they didn't fire McCarthy last week, they have to wait until after the Super Bowl to talk to any guys that are still in the playoffs. So if any of the guys that are in the playoffs are interested in the Dallas job, they're gonna have to wait.
But who's left in the play? Oh, you're talking about even the coordinators.
Even the
I think it's
coordinator.
like 2 more
So,
weeks.
so since Dallas didn't fire McCarthy when the season ended, they missed that window that you guys had last week to virtually interview those guys. Now they have to wait till I think February 10th or something.
You can't do like Zooms with Joe Brady
Nope.
or
You
well,
can't
well
do
Liam
Ben.
Cohen is
Can't
available.
do Ben Johnson.
Liam Cohen is available.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll try to get him in. Maybe. I think you'll see different names with Dallas because they try to be different.
I see.
Deion's 5 years for $29.5 million.
You'll see a big extension there soon.
You see, the Cowboys at the end of the day will end up with Kellen Moore. They do that. You see with Garrett, all these guys that are familiar in the building, and
Kellen Moore sucks.
Deion Sanders. I think I don't know if Deion Sanders. The only way he comes into the NFL is if he's able to coach his son. And in Dallas, that's not
He
happening.
said like a month ago that he's not ready, which everyone knows.
But
They'll have a coach before
And
Russ.
Kellen Moore's
jump in.
terrible, man.
What made him? And I'm not advocating for Dion as a head coach in the NFL, but what made him less qualified than Kingsbury was?
Kingsbury's like a unique offensive play.
Yeah, but Meek, real quick, I'm sorry. Like
Buckeye.
Deion Sanders is an iconic figure in football. Like that
Buck.
guy is a
That doesn't
leader of
matter.
men. Yes,
That
it
doesn't matter.
does.
No, it doesn't.
Yes,
Buckeye.
it does.
They hired Kingsbury for Kyler Murray because that's the
Petey,
only reason why they did it.
Petey, who was the great player?
That's
That's a
fair.
great coach, bro.
Because he was a losing college coach too.
Right, but because of the system, because Kingsbury, because he has close ties to Lincoln Riley, and they run a very very similar system. They wanted to bring someone.
Yeah.
Yeah, talk about a name without substance. Lincoln Riley.
Yeah, Meek, by the way, most great players don't coach, to be fair, just like
Yeah,
in managers in baseball.
yeah, Deion. I mean, he hasn't done a great job coaching. Let's be
Dude, he
real.
took on no-name
I think he's
teams,
done a terrific
bro. What
job.
are you
Yeah,
talking
man.
He
about,
kicked
bro?
out every player and
He had
recruited all
nobody.
guys.
But
By
Meek,
the way,
hold on. He went to
that's
the
ridiculous.
pits. He went to the pits of college
Bro.
and made it a
Okay,
program.
Buckeye. Well, look at how easy it is in college sports to do that now. Look at Louisville basketball.
Let's see what Belichick does in
Okay,
Where's
hold
it
on.
UNC.
been easy?
Look at Louisville basketball. They were the
But
worst program in the country 2 years ago.
wait,
4 and
hold on,
all right,
hold on,
there you
Meek.
go. All right, all
To
right.
Buckeye's credit, to Meek's credit, and I got to give him this. Kenny Dillingham took home a 2-win football program and turned into a playoff team in 2 years.
That's it. It's
With
so
less
easy
talent.
now. You get
With
50 transfers.
with less talent.
You play a
He
shit
did it with
schedule,
less
and you
talent
win
than
9
Deion.
games. It's so easy.
Yeah, but didn't Deion change the landscape with Colorado? He definitely did.
He
What
drove
about
Jerry
He
being with
crazy.
the
did, but
boy in Alabama?
Jerry
I can
crazy.
name you six of the coaches that are still coaching that still didn't get the opportunity, that still didn't get those
Bro, I'd
those
take the
coaching
Indiana
jobs.
coach over him.
Right, Indiana. Right, look what he did when Indiana was in a
It's
dumpster
so
fire,
easy now.
and he took him to the
Proven, bro.
playoffs.
It's literally all you do is just pay these kids and tell the bad one.
Yeah, Whittle, did you want to speak, Whittle?
Yeah. Good morning. Just want to let let you guys know, PD, Buckeye.
Yes.
Good morning, Stack. Everyone else. I'm
Morning.
on Park Drive in Florham Park. I
On
had me and
Jets
PD.
Drive?
No, Park.
Oh,
I think it's
Park Avenue?
Drive. Park Ave. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm on Park
Say
Avenue in
hello.
Florham Park.
Go to the
Yeah.
Archer.
Hold on. Yeah, I'm being paid a service to deliver a envelope to One Jets Drive.
How much you
It is
getting paid to do this?
it's light, man. It's light. I don't want to disclose terms, but
Man, it ain't better be no more than light. Come on,
that
man.
it's light. It's light.
Is Brad Pitt saying what's in the box?
No. It's not that type of.
No, that's fair.
No, this is something in a Manila envelope. And it's a cease and desist order from the Buffalo Bills organization. I'm delivering this to One Jets Drive. The Jets are to cease with all contact of Joe Brady via this form. So you guys are gonna have to find
Man,
your head coach
caping for your offensive
somewhere
coordinator
else.
is nasty, bro.
And we'll accept that envelope. We'll accept the envelope. Just drop it off next to my old ass trophy that I left over there. It's been sitting here for 50 years.
First of all, I don't know who this is, and whatever you just said, it wasn't even funny or clever. But anyway,
I know what he
yeah.
was
So
referring to. He was referring to
He knows what I'm talking
he's
about.
referring to no championships in Buffalo.
I know, but I mean, it's when you can't win 8 games, and you have a guy that's going to step into the Hall of Fame immediately the moment he says I'm done, you can't like it loses all its sizzle.
Please,
You know what
Sean,
I'm
get up
saying?
here. This is going to turn into a Bills Jets smoke
No,
state.
no, it's not. It's just when when I'm speaking to my friends and people I'm cool with, like you lackeys who don't have that type of relationship, just stay on mute. I don't care what you have to say. I'm just addressing it now so that the rest of the lackeys who think they're clever, they can just save themselves. Don't even respond. It's not for you. It's not. Sorry.
It's all comes from jealousy. Listen, we would love. I mean, that Raven game is going to be a crazy. I mean, if I'm a Bill fan or a Raven fan, it's so exciting, and we haven't had that excitement. So you
We haven't
gotta,
had it
you
since
gotta,
2010. We haven't had a home playoff game since 2002. It sucks.
yeah, you gotta understand us fans.
Uh,
We're so,
no, I
we're
do.
so,
I
we're
get
so
it.
beaten down, bro. So yeah, just
I
excuse
get
some
it.
of them.
But like Shaq, like if if it was coming from you, like we've done this before, so you know there's a familiarity there. I don't even know who this guy is. Like I don't recognize his voice. If I walked past him and I heard him at a restaurant or a lounge, I wouldn't stop and say,
Well,
"Oh, that's such
Whittle,
and such from Twitter." If I heard your voice, Zach, I'd say, "Oh shit, that sounds like that." Yo, are you? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know
I'll
what I'm
make a
saying?
proposal that you're going to deny. I'll walk next year when I walk over to say hello. I'll bring him.
Nah, you don't
You
need to.
guys, I knew you were going to say that.
We
I
don't
knew
have
you
any
were going
we
to say
don't have
that.
any more room.
Yo,
We're
by the
already
way, real
bringing Chris
quick,
over.
I'll bring the trophy with me,
We're
Petey.
we're, we're already
I'll let you
bringing
bring
Chris
it.
over. We're already bringing Chris over. Chris is taking up the extra slot that we had available. There's some other people that are in the works right now.
oh,
So
this
yeah,
is
we
hilarious.
don't have any room, especially when you don't bring anything
Yeah,
to the
I'm not.
table like
I'm not.
humor
I'm not part of the
or
transfer
being clever.
portal. By
Yeah,
the
like
way, guys.
if you're not at least clever or funny, you definitely can't get in.
All right, Whittle, real quick. At 9 o'clock, guys, Brian Costello from the New York Post will join. So hopefully we get some info. If maybe McCarthy's coming, who knows? If he's coming in for an interview, at least. I'll tell you what. If the Jets don't bring McCarthy in for an interview, I'm going to be pissed. I'm sick of this, man. They need to hire an experienced coach.
I
I
should
don't want to. I
at
don't
least
want a
bring them in,
first time.
Pete.
Hold
I
on,
don't.
you
Yeah.
you
Go
guys
ahead.
want McCarthy?
I'll take him as an interview. Yeah, of course.
For
Who
Well,
do you want,
for
Sparks?
where the Jets are, I'd
my
say
my
McCarthy is as
well,
good as it gets.
I'm kind of wondering
Hey, how
why.
you been, Sparks? I haven't heard from you in a while. Good to hear from you. What's up?
What's up, bro? I'm doing good, man. Um, my question is like, why haven't the Jets interviewed Ben Johnson yet, or even mentioned him?
He
He
doesn't want
doesn't
to. He
want to
doesn't
come
want to
here.
interview.
Oh, okay. Yeah, cause I was thinking like, man, he's got to be a hot name right now. The way that offense in Detroit is sizzling. Uh, I don't know who I want the Jets to get, man. I just, I just want an offensive minded coach. To be honest with you, I'm tired of the defensive minded coaches. Um, it just seems to never work out for us. Except for back when we went to back to back AFC championships with Rex. I'm ready to give the offensive coaches a try, man. And
I keep saying it over and over again, and we've been saying it for weeks. And what Petey alluded to this morning is basically this is not an entry level position. I don't these hot shot coordinators, their offenses or their defenses are unbelievable. And
yeah,
that does not mean that they could run a whole team. It's failed in the past and it's succeeded in the past. But the Jets need experience at that head coach position,
I
and they need
agree, Zach.
experienced GM as well. You need experience in that building. This team's like lost in the desert.
I mean, me personally, I would hire a GM before a coach, though.
Of
Don't you
course.
want?
Well, that's what a normal organization would do. We're
Yeah, I
not. We're
mean,
not playing in a normal. We're not rooting for one.
I agree.
Did anybody see the article that I don't know who said, but Kevin O'Connell's basically thanked Sam Darnold like for what did it say exactly?
Said that he thanked them, but in the end, it didn't work out.
So I mean, does that is saying he's gone? or
we knew he's gone. There's no way that they were keeping, unless Sam Darnold brought him to a Super Bowl. There's no way in the world they were
well,
keeping him and trading J.J. McCarthy. That
yeah,
was not happening.
Minnesota has 75 million this year too in cap
A,
space.
Sam could go to Cleveland. He'd be fine there. I'll get paid there.
Well,
Yeah,
Cleveland.
somebody's going to pay Darnold. I just don't think. I think he's going to get a Mayfield contract, 30 million. I don't think he's getting 50.
Jarek, real quick, you don't
Not
feel
after
Dion
last
changed
night.
an unlevel playing field in college?
What'd you say, Buckeye?
You don't feel Dion changed a very unlevel playing field in college and made it like you don't feel he changed the game in college?
No, I think he was really good. I think he was a very, very good coach. I think that again, he brought the lure he brought the lure back to Colorado, and he made it an attractive place for a bunch of transfers. But remember, in terms of high school recruiting, the best class he ever got was 56. He had the 56 best high school recruiting class. So he was able to get guys like Travis Hunter, who transferred from Jackson State. He got Jordan Seaton, who was a 5-star who came
Wait,
over.
wait, Jarek, what was Shador ranked in the high
He was
school?
a force. He was a late 4-star. But that he was a late 4-star, but he committed to Jackson State. He still had like 22 offers, but he was a 4-star. He was like 200th in the country.
Hey, Zach, just jump in.
But no, I mean, if we're talking about like impactful coaches that had transfers and did a great job recruiting, the first one to do it was Mark Norvell. Mark Norvell was the first impactful dude because I'm sorry, Florida State, they should have went to the playoffs. They probably I'm not saying they would have won the national championship, but he was the first that had an elite recruiting class, but also had a bunch of transfers because he had Braden Fisk, he had Jared Verse, the running back, I forgot the name. He went early in the second round. Keon Coleman came over, Johnny Wilson, Jordan Travis, all those dudes, and he had a top 10 recruiting class. Now he's doing shitty now, but
But you're saying at Florida
he was the
State?
first one. Like in terms of
I know, but Florida State is a mecca for college football.
he brought it back though, man. Buckeye, they didn't have a top 30 recruiting class in 4 years because of Jimbo Fisher.
I understand, but comparing Colorado football to Florida State football, man, that's
Oh,
like
okay. Oh, oh,
there's a
oh,
history. I mean, the history of Colorado is Eric Bieniemy. It's no history
okay,
there.
Buckeye. I'll give you a better example. Kalen DeBoer at Washington. They're not a mecca. And Kalen DeBoer in 2 years
That's fair.
he went there, got the team to a national championship, got a bunch of transfers, some solid recruiting classes, got the team to a championship. Again, Kenny Dillingham got the team to the playoffs in 2 years. Jeff Fish got to Arizona in 1 year, and and brought McMillan and Fafita over, and they won 10 games
That's fair.
Yeah,
first year.
can it, Buckeye? Let me just say one thing. I did thank everybody yesterday, but I do see Frankie in here, and I want to thank Frank and Nick from U Stadium for retweeting Mark Torres's tweet. That he put out last Thursday, and that really helped. With the goal, and Mark reached the goal. So tremendous respect to those two guys for doing that, and I mean that. That really helped and make things take off. So I just wanted to personally thank these guys on the platform. I did say it yesterday on the space, but they weren't. Frank wasn't in here, but you know that was really good work, and I'm truly grateful for those guys for doing that. And I'm pretty beyond positive. I know Mark is. So, and by the way, if we could all put up a heart for Mark's daughter because she's going in today for her, treatment. So if we could all just put out a little heart for Mark's daughter right now. I know people in the listeners section will be a little delayed, but it'd be really appreciated. And let's all give a moment to Sophia. Thanks, guys. Sorry about the transfer here, but appreciate you, Frank. Sorry. Let's get back to where did Meek go with the Deion Sanders thing?
Can I ask y'all a question?
Yeah, Zach, I called on you before. What's
Yeah, I
up?
know. I was trying to wait for them to finish up the conversation, bro. I'm not trying to interrupt
What's
people.
up? You're good. Good morning.
Good morning to you, bud.
All right.
So I'm just I could tell by reading the room since I've been in here listening that y'all aren't big on a new OC, that y'all want a seasoned head coach. But I guess my question would be, why would you want Mike McCarthy? Because from what I know of Mike McCarthy, since I've been following him at least, I've never really known him to have to rebuild a team. He's kind of always went to a situation or been in a situation where the quarterback spot was already, in Green Bay, the quarterback spots were pretty much a succession plan. And I mean, you can contribute. I guess you can try to contribute Aaron Rodgers' success to Mike McCarthy, but I don't think it was because of Mike McCarthy that Aaron Rodgers was
That's
successful.
because, hey, brother, that's because this is the one team that's looking for a head coach that doesn't have to be rebuilt. This team doesn't have to be rebuilt. There's parts of it that they need help, like everyone else has holes, but there's a lot of talent on this roster. And I don't, if it meant keeping Rodgers because you get McCarthy, I don't know if we want to go down that route. But he has one, and we need experience. This team doesn't need to be a complete, like when Adam Gase took over the Jets, there was nothing. It was barren. This team's not barren in talent. That's why the
I
team's
think
ready
he,
to compete
Yeah,
now.
morning, Petey.
I don't think they. Hey, good morning. We don't need a complete rebuild, in my opinion, either. There's young pieces here. You make a couple of tweaks, even if you trade someone, you know, in my opinion. But
I feel
some Jet fans want to. But June's not here. June wants to blow it up. He'll be in soon.
And I
But
think that's where I guess me and Zach don't see. Like, I do think that y'all do need a full rebuild.
We're close to a rebuild.
From
Our defense is bad.
Offensive line too, I think.
No,
I
I
think
think
he
our
But
O
brings
line
a
has got a lot
level
of
of
pieces.
consistency, though,
But
right?
how
Do
did the
you think so,
defense fall off
Bucko?
the cliff then? How did it
because they
fall off the cliff
fired the
the
one,
one year?
they
Jermaine
fired
Johnson got
because
hurt.
yes, that's one of the reasons, Zach. But they fired the coach that actually knew something. I'm not giving Salah credit now, but he was pretty good at defense,
Yeah,
and
but
they
so
fell
is
apart.
but the defensive coordinator. What happened with him? He was running the defense supposedly. Everybody loved
Nah,
Obrick. Everybody loved Obrick until he became
well,
head coach.
you could see
Our
it.
our, our defense
I
needs
mean,
a
it.
rebuild.
I
It needs
think
a
Salah.
complete rebuild.
I
It,
think Salah was calling
it's
plays
pretty
though.
close.
Yo, their defense got trashed, buddy. Didn't you watch? Like, they were getting trashed. I mean, they gave up the lead multiple times this year. I mean, the Jets was
Well,
winning
then,
football
okay. So
games.
if that story
Albrecht
is
fell
true,
off the
which is
cliff. That's
true,
not a story. That's facts. I'm
no,
not
which
making
is
up
true.
stories,
But if
buddy.
that's the way it is, then who do you blame? Do you blame Aaron Rodgers for not scoring enough points to beat these teams, or do you blame the
Partially.
defense for giving up the points? Which one is it? Because it's got to be
You
one of
know
them.
who I blame?
I
I
think there's
blame
enough
Woody
blame to go
Johnson
around.
first. That's who I blame first, Woody.
In the end of
Then
the day, it's
Salah
a
and them,
team.
because Salah didn't do the job good enough. He should have been gone. And listen, I fought with jokes about it. I fought with other people about it. And listen, I thought he deserved a chance with Rodgers, and they shouldn't have did it at 2-3. They shouldn't have. I'm sorry. They should have just did it in the offseason and moved on. That's it.
I
You
got
That's
blame
what they
so do
should have did.
you blame Petey? You blame Woody for not getting rid of Salah earlier, or you blame Woody for
Yes.
the
Yes.
hires that he didn't
I
make?
Yes. And Douglas messed up on the personnel. They gambled and got cute.
I think the defense fell apart though when Salah left because we
Absolutely.
were playing good defense when he was
Yes.
there.
I agree.
McCarthy will at least bring you a level of consistency, right? You'll at least be consistent. You know what I'm saying? Like, you won't have like the worst record. You might not have the best record, but you got to admit, all the teams he's been on, no matter how the team was delivered to him, they've been consistent, and that's better than what you got. It doesn't mean you have to hold on to him forever. You know what I mean? He could be
Wait,
a
hey,
bridge coach, dude, till you
let
get
me
somebody. You never know.
let me
So
ask you guys.
let me
Last
ask you
year,
something, Office. If you want him to be a bridge coach, what experience can you say he has of ever rebuilding a team or building a team from scratch up to something? I can argue that he's had great teams that have underachieved from even his Dallas years. When he got there, there was a nice defense. They have weapons. They have their quarterback and a good offensive line, and I would figure most people would say his tenure in Dallas was an underachievement.
Yeah, but
I
hold on
guess what I would
a
say
second.
is
I'm not saying
this.
you're completely wrong, but didn't Jason Garrett leave that team underachieving? Like, so how many years can a team underachieve?
That's
The
You
true
know,
too.
the
I mean,
credit, and
my thing would be that I feel like he's been in the NFL long enough that I would imagine he knows how to rebuild a team. And like you just mentioned, he hasn't really had to, but why couldn't he? I mean, he's a
yeah,
long tenured NFL coach with pretty good success
right.
under his belt. I feel like he could
hey,
do that.
Office. The credit that I give Mike McCarthy to was the fact that he hired Dan Quinn. Because one thing about the Jones, they know how to get talent, right? In terms of them running the entire organization to the ground and running that shit like we're in Great Britain, like it's just the Victorian era. Like yeah, it's a disgrace. But Mike McCarthy, I think the only great thing he did was that he got Dan Quinn. No one questions his offensive prowess, but even then, when Jason Garrett was there, they always had the top ranked offenses. The biggest issue was their defense. So the Joneses was able to provide them with enough defensive talent, building that up, and Mike McCarthy hired Dan Quinn, who was one of the best defensive minds in football, and they became a playoff team.
hey,
Great
Pete, I
point.
want to just go. Pete, can I go back real quick? I just want
Yeah.
this vaulted jet defense since Salah was gone, and that's what. Let me tell you something. Let's go back to last year. This team okay, let's go back to that Commander game where we were destroying their rookie quarterback, and that was last year, right? Destroying the rookie
Wait,
quarterback,
what
and
rookie quarterback?
what's his
Heineke?
name? No, the guy. What's his name?
The
The
kid with four
Commanders.
thousand yards.
The other
The
guy,
Commanders.
Not
No, the
Heineke. Sam
Commanders.
Sam,
Howell?
Sam
Sam
Howell.
Howell. Yeah, yeah. So I remember that game we were destroying them. They brought in Brissett at half or late in the third quarter, and they ran through us like freaking Swiss cheese. And then we played a team in the Browns who was
Who
barren.
destroyed us?
They destroyed us without Amari Cooper, with Joe Flacco, no running back. They had three offensive linemen out. So this whole idea that I've watched many games last year with Salah, where the defense absolutely was trash. So this whole idea that all of a sudden that Salah he was gone, and then this is all nonsense. This
Yeah, but
defense is known to
No,
do
no,
that.
Hold
Zach.
on, hold
We
on,
were talking
hold on,
about Zach. We
Sparks.
were talking
No,
about this year.
no. But what
It doesn't
I'm
matter.
going back to what you're saying, Zach. To be fair, though, the plan was, oh well, and I was definitely one of the people that said it up here on stage. I'm not going to hide from it. I thought, and most people, not most people, a lot of people thought Aaron Rodgers scoring points would make the defense better, and we were
Yeah,
wrong.
I thought too, Petey. I thought too.
Can
I
you make a
figured that
case?
the defense wouldn't be on the field as
Can you
much.
make a case McCarthy's every bit as good as John Harbaugh or Mike Tomlin?
I'd rather have John Harbaugh.
What has John Harbaugh done more than McCarthy?
Me too.
Uh,
Not much. I mean, they both got Super Bowls. They're both winning coaches.
He's maintained the same job for
I mean,
17 plus years.
Right.
they all have Super Bowls.
And
To
I
be
think
fair,
Hardball's more disciplined.
my
I
point
mean,
is we always complain that our players are undisciplined, that people jump off sides, nobody gets held
But
accountable. At least with
Petey, the
McCarthy,
Ravens are one of the most penalized teams in the league. Like, I
yeah, but
mean,
I'd
number
still
come
one,
take
on,
Whittle.
guys.
John. Yeah, but Whittle, John Harbaugh is still a good coach.
Nah, you guys weren't number one. I think you
In
were number two.
penalties?
You were right behind like Carolina or the Jets. I think the Jets were number one actually.
I
So
think John
Fair
Harbaugh
enough.
was a coach too. My point was, if the Jets are lucky enough to finally get a head coach that's even in the conversation of the two that I just mentioned, that's your guy. And again, if they wind up with a brilliant OC mind, I know Whittle's advocating for us to get Joe Brady. I like that idea. Like outside of getting the hot OC, which I think nothing. Don't think any of them want anything to do with us. But if McCarthy wants to come here and we turn him away twice, we're stupid, man.
And he probably,
Yeah, and everybody's laughing at us. I'm just tired, man. It's listen, Buckeye, I've been doing this a while now. I am broke from this year. And I am not going to games next year with a mindset that my team's going to be 4-13 again. I'm sorry.
I,
No
I, I just
way. Even if we're bad, I am not going to
I
believe
just don't
that.
know how
I
Brian Flores and
can't.
Aaron Glenn are better candidates for the Jets. Yeah,
I'm
for the
not saying
Jets
that.
than McCarthy. There's no rationale to that.
Well, and Buckeye, do you believe that
I
No.
that
agree.
McCarthy is in a position that he can get the right type of offense or defensive coaches in here, right? Them other guys don't have that lineage behind them because they're only coordinators. You know what I mean? Like you're going to leave Aaron Glenn a little bit on an island if you hired him as the head coach. You see what I'm saying? Like, because this would be his first time having to hire offense or defensive coordinators per se, right? Like, there's a big difference
Correct.
there as well. Like, you got to know people. Like look at for example Zach Orr, our defensive coordinator. He had nobody to call on to potentially hire in. You see what I'm saying? Like McCarthy won't be out on an island that way. Some of a newer first time head coach will be. Then you have to settle for something you might not
Yeah.
want.
Yo, office. I don't want a first time head coach picking, coordinators that
Exactly,
are up
buddy.
on the horizon, like, these defensive specialists. I'm sorry, I just don't. I want an experienced guy, and I'm not going to get what I want because it's the
Well, there's
Jets,
still time.
and it sucks.
Still time. They just got to make the right call, right? But you're onto something there, Petey.
I
That shit matters.
That's what we're all worried about, the right call.
I think the question for Mike McCarthy is what sort of ownership is he really going to have? Like what sort of leadership is he going to be under? Because Mike McCarthy has been to two places now where Aaron Rodgers had the majority of power, and then he went to the Dallas Cowboys, where we all know it's a dictatorship, where he has a lot of restrictions. He can't really say or do
It's
as
a great
much.
point. Yeah, it's Jerry's
Right. So if
world.
he goes to the Jets and he has to deal with Woody and he has to deal with what sort of leadership is he going to be getting from not just an ownership standpoint but
Yeah,
all
but
across the board? That has to
the
matter.
good thing about Woody is Woody's not Jerry Jones. Woody will let these guys do what they want to do.
No, Sack.
That's the
No,
truth.
no. I'm sorry. No, Woody Johnson does not. Look at what he did this year. He ruined the
Wait, how
season.
did?
And I'm not
No,
yelling
I know.
at
How did
you.
he ruin the season? The
Sack. He
Athletic.
fired the
If you
coach.
believe what's in the Athletic, sure, you would think that. You
Oh,
think that he was pulling players? Woody Johnson.
Sack. I believe Woody Johnson stepped in some places where he shouldn't have been. Yes,
But
I
when he
do.
went out and took a trip to go get Aaron Rodgers, that was great, right?
That's
Well, that's
different.
different because that's what we wanted.
But yeah, but he should have went. He's the
But
owner.
this is the point. If you're the owner, Petey, you own the Jets now, right? Everybody wants Aaron Rodgers. You run out to California. Petey Pablo goes out to California. You sit down. You get us Aaron Rodgers. We love you to death. We go crazy for you. Aaron Rodgers plays piss poor. Doesn't work out. We hate you. You're the worst owner in the world because you just got us what we wanted. This is all this nonsense. It's the same thing with James Dolan. The same shit with that. Sell the team, sell the team.
So,
And then he
but
goes out and
Sack,
hires
I
the
don't.
right guys. The
ho-
Knicks are playing
Hold
great.
on, Sack. Sack,
They're playing great. They
respectfully,
got their
and
ass kicked by
now
the
I'm getting
Pistons last
that.
night.
Sack,
Last night, but
no
overall,
offense.
they're much better than they were in the last freaking 20 years.
Woody's a
Sack,
clown.
no offense. You're getting me upset
No,
now,
it's
but
good.
it's all
That's what
good.
drives the
Sack,
conversation.
how could you defend? But how could you defend
I
Woody
don't defend them
Johnson?
100%, but I think there's all this nonsense for the guy that signs the checks is ultimately the guy that you're going to blame. That's the boogeyman. But I don't hear
Who's
anything
the
about
common theme the last 15 years?
no one blames Joe Douglas for shit. No one
Wait,
blames
Joe
Robert
hold on.
Sala
But
Douglas
for
has
shit.
been
Douglas is gone.
absolutely roasted
Wait,
this year, brother. I'm not sure where you were at.
Sack,
These
Oh,
listen
folks
he's
have
here.
been
Hold on,
roasted
roasted.
Sack.
everybody.
Sack, wait. Office, 1 second. Sack, you trust Woody Johnson to hire this coach? I
No, I
don't.
don't. That's why I kept saying that they should get a president of football operations that knows what he's doing ahead of time. But that doesn't seem to be happening. So he's an idiot for not doing that and having Jaime run everything. Yes, he's an idiot for that. I think but Sala, Gase, Douglas, that's not on him. Now we can judge from here on out.
His brother hired Gase. You don't think they had any conversations whatsoever?
Yeah, that's the funny part is that when we asked him that, he said when we asked him that in Cleveland, he said something like, "When I delegate, you delegate," because I was blaming
Oh, he's
Chris.
full of shit. He's lying through his teeth. Give me a break. This is the
Sack, I'm
21st century. You
sorry,
tell me
Sack.
they
I
don't
don't
talk
know.
on the
Listen,
phone?
Sack. Sack. I am the big. I'm not saying I'm the biggest Jeff fan, but you
I
know,
know,
I'm with them ride or die. And I'm sorry if I saw Woody Johnson, I would love to talk to him and tell him, Woody, look, man, like how are they going to fill seats this year? What are they going to do? What are they going to sell the
And if they
fans on
hire
this
fucking
year?
Ryan Grigson as GM after that guy failed with the Colts, Woody Johnson really deserves the fucking clown nose.
I'll lead the charge with the red nose. Okay, if they do that, I'll lead the charge, John B.
Yeah, but Sack, I'm sorry. I just got to go back to this. How are you defending Woody Johnson right now after what happened this season? He went and forced Reddick. I get, listen, I wanted Reddick to
But
play,
that's the point.
but
That's the
look at what,
point. It's hindsight is always 2020. We see it on Twitter all day long,
but
every
there,
year.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
but
the,
the owner,
but
that's why
the
he's the owner.
2020,
You don't listen to the
yeah, but the
fans.
20, he should have let the football guys do it. And Joe Douglas didn't get it done with freaking, with
Yeah, but
Reddick.
you know what? Let what I see is the hypocrisy, right? And everybody sees it, but some people just don't want to say it. I'm calling it out. This is build a statue for Joe Douglas. How many posts? How many people were in our spaces? Build a statue for Joe Douglas, and then now it
Yeah,
didn't work
Stack,
out.
yes. But that was because of the draft he did, because it elevated the roster.
Which draft?
Sack the 2000 the Sauce Gardner draft with
No,
Brees
but
and
no,
Garrett.
but when he's
That's why people were saying build
that
a
not no
statue for
no they were also
Douglas.
saying it when he drafted when he signed all this past free agency. They were saying build a statue. He fixed the offensive line.
Not me.
He
That was
fixed the
me.
offensive
I
line.
never heard that.
That was me.
He fi-
He didn't fix it. I don't think.
No, he didn't. But in hindsight, he didn't. But listen, don't tell me that I'm on Twitter all fucking day. I seen when all those moves he made this past free agency. Don't tell me everybody wasn't celebrating it. They were all celebrating these
They
free
were
agent
in the
moves.
space. I
Sack,
remember that.
sack. People were excited. Most people were. There were people still with tempered expectations. There were Jeff fans that were saying 12-5, 13-4. And listen, I'm not saying you're calling you a name, but I just, not you specifically. I just thought people were nuts. That's why I didn't pick the Jets to win the division. I thought they make the playoffs.
Yeah.
But
Not
this
gonna lie.
nonsense of like, Woody Johnson, in my eyes, ruined the
All
season. I'm
right. Well,
sorry, he
listen, I'm
did.
not just saying that, but I'm saying revisionist history. We're talking about hypocrisy. Listen, I remember again when Salah was hired, the fan base here went bananas. Don't let him leave the building. Don't let this guy leave the building. Then he left the building. They were cursing Woody Johnson, or cursing Chris Johnson, whatever the fuck. And then they were saying, "Oh, he's going to Philadelphia. They're gonna take him." And then so now it didn't work out, right? Salah's a failed guy. So now Salah's a shithead, right?
Zach, can I
But
ask you a
it's all
question?
most of the fan base wanted this
Zach,
guy.
can I ask you a
It's just
question? Who
yeah.
who who got LaFleur fired? Do you think it was Saleh? You think he fired his guy, or you think Woody intervened and said you're firing that guy?
Woody.
I think that Woody was sick and tired. But this whole idea that this is a clown organization because they sat there for how many years did they give Salah? How many years did they give Joe Douglas? It's not like they hired these guys and after 1 year they were fired. You know, other teams do that, but they're never thought of as a clown show. You know, we're not the only team this
But
year to
Sack,
fire
what
a
gives?
head coach
But
during the
Sack,
season.
hold on here, because now
We
I
we
can't. Why are you doing this to me
Pro
this
This
Woody
is
early?
so
You're
space.
getting me
silly. I
riled
can't
up.
believe I'm listening to
We
this.
can't do a pro Woody space.
Do you think
I
No,
MC's
No,
understand.
gonna
it's
I'm
win
not
just
after
pro
saying.
they
Like,
Woody.
fire
what
the coach?
It's not pro Woody,
Sack?
but
What
it's being
gives?
fair. It's
But
looking
Sack,
at it on both sides.
But Sack, what gives you confidence that Woody Johnson's going to fix this? What?
I'm not saying that he look. You know what? They forced me into this position, right? I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if Maybe because I'm a
Okay.
Libra, I see things both ways. It's 50-50, like the scale. 50-50.
Horoscopes? Come on.
Let's run a
Giambi,
50-50 in here.
50-50.
Sorry.
I see things both ways. You can't just blame the boogeyman. It just doesn't work that way. You just
And
can't
you
just
can
But
blame him
Sack,
when he's the
somebody
owner and
has to
he's the
be.
common theme through multiple regimes. I don't
what
know what we're
multiple
doing
regimes.
here.
Where were you? So Giambi, how old were you during the Rex years? How old were you? 15?
10.
11?
I mean, whose fault is it then if
11
you
or 10.
can't
Nobody
blame
was
the owner?
screaming for. Yeah, but nobody was screaming fire the sell the team back then, right? That was under his ownership, was
He
it not?
always was known as incompetent. Nobody's ever liked Woody Johnson. I don't know what you're trying to get at here.
Nobody. Listen again, because I'm hitting you with facts, and you're hitting me with
There's no facts. They
the
haven't made
facts.
the
Are
playoffs
the
in
facts? Are
15 years.
2008, 2009, 2010. Nobody was screaming fire the owner.
I've
It's only
never
when it
seen a
doesn't.
fan base cling on to two AFC championship losses in my
Sack.
life.
Yeah,
There
but
was
the fact
barely
remains,
Twitter back
nobody
then,
was on
Sack.
fucking on the Jet Nation boards because there was
And you
no
want Rex
spaces.
Ryan back as a coach.
Jambi, you're
All
saying
right,
nonsense right now.
let's
It's not
keep this.
nonsense. You
Well,
want him back as a
No, I
coach.
don't
let's.
want him back. So I don't want him back. What I'm saying is that I want an experienced head coach.
All
That's
right,
what
give
I
me
was
one.
calling for.
Give us one then. Give us the best one in your opinion then,
McCarthy, I
please.
would take McCarthy. May I would take Flores.
Okay, keep
I
going.
would take those are the two. Those are the two that I would take right now. I like Gruden, but that ain't never happening. I want somebody that's won before, that knows what winning looks like.
I think it's a farce that Woody's even conducting all these head coaching interviews and he hasn't even hired a GM yet. Of course, Woody, who's known to do things ass backwards, is deciding to have these things go simultaneously, and he's going to try to do another forced marriage like he did with Mike McCagnon and Todd Bowles.
Well,
That's
that's
what I'm
stupid.
saying. That's
That's
what I'm
stupid.
saying. Have a GM first. Get a GM.
The
Well,
Titans already announced Mike Berganzi's second round of interviews, and we have to interview the fucking janitor out of Seattle and God knows who else.
well, that's stupid. And hiring the 33rd team, they're running it, right? So go call up Tannenbaum and tell him that he's not doing his job.
Or bring Spielman. What do you guys think about him? Spearman, or whatever his name is?
No.
Let me ask you a question: Who's running this hiring process?
It's an
Fucking
The
Woody and the
outside.
33rd
33rd
team.
team.
It's an
Who put
So,
them in
so the
outside
place?
thirty
Woody
company.
third team,
Johnson.
the 33rd team, sending all these people to go get interviewed. So someone
Okay,
else.
who hired the 33rd team?
Well, that's
Woody.
ridiculous to begin with. That you have to hire the 33rd team. I get it, but
Okay, and
it
that's
worked
an
out for the
$100,000.
indictment on
command.
Woody Johnson.
It
I
worked
think
out
it's
for the
smart
Commanders, though.
personally. Why
It worked.
wouldn't you
Final
hire somebody
decision is
that's
going to be made
neutral?
by Woody.
Let's go, Petey.
Yo, what's up?
Hiring the
No, let's not kill the. Who's is somebody talking?
I can't hear anyone but you.
hiring the 33rd
All right,
team
heck,
worked out for the Commanders. If it doesn't work out for us, we will roast
morning,
Tannenbaum
Bridgie.
and the
Well,
33rd team.
yeah, we
That's
need
a
a.
guarantee.
What's up, Chris?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd give anything a try at
I'm a
this point.
sop. I don't feel like getting Sack. I can't
Yeah,
believe you're
wait,
on
wait,
Woody
I'm
Johnson's
not.
team
I'm
for
not.
this.
wait.
Listen, Petey,
What did the Commanders do? What did the 33rd team specifically do to really help booster that team for free agency? Because
I mean,
Adam
Adam Peters was
Peters.
considered the premier candidate last year too. It's not like they made some
right, I
glowing
mean,
out of the
they,
box
a
recommendations.
lot of those pieces, a lot of those key pieces were already there before the 33rd team. The difference is Jaden Daniels. He was the difference.
Petey,
And they
can I
have a
just?
lot
What do
of
you,
wiggle room in the cap, dude. They
Right.
were left in far different circumstances than the Jets are right now.
Wait, hold on. Before we go on, Giambi, I have Costello coming on at 9. You want to plug it?
Sure, no problem. What do you mean?
Go ahead. Like, say it now how you would say it like
We
Beningo.
got the great Brian Costello. Bry, how are you, bro? Adam Gase, Tony. I know you're getting quotes and information from him, Brian, but I'm sick of it. Okay, the guy is the worst since Rich Kotite, and believe me, bro, I was alive and well during those days. Oh my God, what?
That's in 15 minutes. Brian Cos will be on. That was pretty good, Giambi. Thanks.
My 2 cents.
Yeah,
Woody
continue.
don't know what the f he's doing.
Yeah, Dinkins overrated, folks.
Well, agreed. But I don't want it. Listen,
Sack.
I don't want it to listen. So let me have a chance to just say one thing about that. I
Go ahead.
don't.
You're not going to
I'm
get
not a
shotted
hundred
down.
percent on Woody. I'm not 100%. What I'm saying is that there's plenty of blame to go around, and I know it stops with the owner. If you own the franchise, you that's part of it. You're gonna get the blame when it doesn't work out, and you're gonna get your flowers when it works out. But what I'm saying is that you know he's the last man there standing he gets all the blame. I'm not 100%. Hiring a coach before a GM is stupid. It's absolutely ass backwards, as John B said before. It is. So when he deserves the shit, then we give him shit. But there's certain things that didn't work out this year. Jet fans are mad, and we have to blame the boogeyman, and he happens to be the boogeyman.
How do you
Yeah, but
call him the
But he's
boogeyman though when he's
also
the owner of the team? Who else are you going to blame?
Who
The head of
drafted
hot
the
dog
players?
concessions?
Who drafted the players? The players get no blame for not playing good.
but
Okay,
Sack,
and who hired the guy?
Sack,
Who
hold on.
coached the players?
Zach, hold on. How he handled McCagnon, right? Letting him blow the whole cap and then letting him go after doing that. How he handled in an unbelievable coaching like options. He ran it back with Salah and then fired. Like he's had a
right.
history of just doing insane
All that
shit.
shit.
I think they gave Joe Douglas and Salah plenty of rope to hang themselves.
Yeah, but
Let's
you
not
you
forget
had a
it's.
chance for Harbaugh. You had a chance for Belichick. You
Yep.
had a chance
How do
for
we know
for.
we had a chance of Harbaugh? How do
How
we
do we
know
know he?
that?
He
How
was
do we know he
available,
didn't?
buddy.
He
He
was
didn't even
available.
try.
There's no way Harbaugh was coming to the Jets.
Okay, did we have a chance at Vrabel?
Probably not. That he went to the Patriots.
No,
Let's
before
not
this
forget his
season.
press conference that this is the most talented Jet team
Before this
ever.
season, Sack, if he didn't run it back with Salah, could we have gotten Vrabel?
We don't know. Yes, maybe
Well,
not.
okay, I'll leave it at we don't know. We
I
didn't
think
even
so.
try.
How do you know that we, as the co-owners of the Jets, know that they didn't try?
Because Sack, this is like
Somebody
Who knows
Sack.
that?
I'm just
ordered it,
saying. This
bro.
is
What
you're
I'm saying
losing
is,
me
who
here,
knows
Sack.
what goes on in that building? Nobody
So,
in this
so, so
space
you,
does.
I
But
know everyone
Sack,
says,
why are they getting a
This is
I know,
ridiculous
pass?
now.
Why is
I know
he?
everyone says Belichick would
All
never
right, I
come
got
here.
it.
You think he wouldn't go to the Jets over
Jambi,
Chapel Hill?
Jambi, how's that ridiculous? You don't know what's going on. You like to think you know what goes on in the building. You have no
Petey
That's
just
idea.
had
that's like a
multiple
pot calling the kettle
reporters in
black.
here,
Give me a
bro.
I don't
break.
either. Well, I
Petey
don't
Well,
said
with
know.
all
You
the
don't know.
leaks,
We all don't
reporters in
know.
here that have
with
given
all the
the
leaks coming out
facts.
of
No,
Where's
but
that
my
guy
point
that
is,
Marco?
organization,
as fans,
Listen, let
I'm
him.
sure.
All right, if he's on the. All right, Sack, hold on 1 second. If this is his hill, let him go,
I'm
and
no. I'm
we
just
can rebut
saying.
him all we
My
want.
Pause.
point
Let's just be
is,
good about it.
as fans, we think we know more than we do, and we don't. We don't know what goes on in the building. We don't know the conversations. The only way that we know these things is when something gets slipped out there, and then we like, oh shit, we read it in the paper. I can't believe they did that. We don't know. We don't know what goes on in there. We like to think we do. We
there's a
don't.
lot of leaks out of there.
What the
That's for
leaks from
sure.
who?
From
They're
the
not
reporters,
credible. I can leak something out right now that's not credible, and
a lot of
everybody
the
would
stuff
believe it.
came out. A lot of the stuff that has come out has been proven to be true.
By who?
Sack, that's different. Come on.
By who? Who
By
proved it to
multiple
be true?
people. Well, Rich Samini in the Jet Lounge last week said that Diana Rossini's report it was very accurate.
Well, that's Rich Samini. Just because he was in the jet lounge doesn't make me a 100 believer in that.
No, but
He
Diana
had
Rossini,
those
Rich
folks in
Samini,
his
these are
space.
guys who cover the team. You think they're just making it up to make it up?
I don't. Like I told Rich Samini in the lounge. If you were listening, I said to him, I believe that that was a whole bunch of truths mixed with a whole bunch of falsehoods, and put in a pot and stirred.
Yeah,
That's
and
what
he
that is.
responded to you and said it was all pretty accurate except the Madden rating.
Petey, ask Costello when he comes on to see if he backs up Samini on that.
Guys, you guys know, all you guys know, people put shit out there all the time just to put it out there too. So I'm not. You guys know everything that you read is not true.
Well, it's true when it fits a person's narrative. That's when it becomes true. If they agree with it, it's true. If they don't agree with it, it's false. That's how this works.
In all due respect, sir, Petey has brought in qualified professional people that have gave their honest assessments on what they've heard in this room. So there is some
So we have as
legitimacy to
well.
finding out information. I mean,
We have as well, sir. We have as well. We have
fair
brought
enough,
on
right?
Samini was on there, Moose was on there. We have as
I've
well,
just
and
heard it
we
here, is what I'm saying. Like, we've heard it here. I mean, the guy last week was honest about it. What was his name, Petey? Mark or Matt? What was the
What
gentleman you had in here?
I forget.
But anyway, yes, it's all good though. Great conversation, man.
well, that's what drives space is this is good. And you know what? Let me ask you a question, Pete, and the gentleman that just spoke. It's what I say. People
So
believe what they want to believe. They agree with, people will believe it, no matter what it is. And it could be outside of sports. When they disagree with something, they choose not to believe it. That's the human nature.
I
That's how
agree.
brain. That's
Yes,
how it
but when
works.
the same people are saying the same thing, usually when there's smoke, there's fire.
Well, you see, that's the most dangerous comment of all of them. There's smoke, there's fire.
But you're not
Johnny,
giving anything to be believable.
where there's smoke, there's fire. You know how many people got in trouble where there's smoke? It must be a lot of smoke. There must be a fire. You got to have facts or you have
yeah,
no facts.
but
Everything
Sack,
else
From
is
hold
top
on,
to
subjective.
real
bottom,
quick.
I
from
can't
top to
even.
bottom, this organization screws things up. Look at the mess they've done with Fireman Ed, whatever. Then you raise the season ticket,
Shout out Fireman
stinks.
Ed.
And everybody else, you know what? Bails on tickets like
Yes,
I did.
Especially when they
Sack,
want
can you
next
hear me?
season and this one wasn't even over.
Yeah, Sack, can you hear me though? That's
Yeah,
another thing too. The whole ticket thing. And Sack,
ridiculous.
listen, but Costello was on here the last time, and he actually said he reported something, and somebody told Costello. He even said it on here. I'll ask him to bring it up again. That one of the guys brought it up on the sideline at practice. Woody's paying attention and he's listening and he does this stuff. I don't know how you can defend
I'm
this
not
guy
for
anymore.
Petey. You want
Sack,
no,
I
Petey.
can't.
What? All due respect, Petey. What you're doing right now is just saying you're redirecting this thing to me by saying I don't know how you defend him.
No,
I'm not 100%
no.
defending him, but I can see things clearly on both ends of the spectrum. These people were brought in. The players didn't play well. Who was coaching them? Who was picking them? It goes. There's more to it than just the guy that's signing the checks.
I
There- you-
agree.
there's a lot of blame. Who's coaching them? Who's drafting these players? We can go down the list. They set us up for failure. They didn't bring in a quality backup quarterback last year. The team went in the tank. Whose fault was that?
There was management.
Yeah, so exactly. That's that
It was management last.
unless you show me that Woody told Joe Douglas, I don't want any other quarterback
But
than
that.
Zach
But
Wilson,
all
then
right.
Yeah,
then
but
you're right.
Petey, management isn't ownership.
I understand that. I'm not
I, I'm
blaming Woody for that part,
I'm
Jim.
I'm with Sack on this. Like
Oh,
again, there's there is plenty of blame to go around. Listen, raising ticket prices, that's ownership. That's bullshit. For what these fans have to watch,
Jim, asking them in November
no, it's
when
ridiculous.
they're 2-7,
Petey, it's shameful.
3-6.
Petey, it's shameful. And whoever
The
his,
fucking disgrace.
that Jaime and whatever, and they can't even see it and say, "Don't do this, Woody." Like they're just as stupid. But as far as football goes, again, he's not going to sell the team. Just like Sack said, I don't want to repeat everything he said, but he was right about Joe Douglas. He had 6 years. Saleh, they ran it back with Saleh this year because they didn't have their quarterback, and he listened to them, and I'm sure they were in there. Listen, Rodgers got hurt last year. Rodgers is healthy. We're gonna be great. I'm sure he listened to them. And 5 games in, 2-3, you can't score a touchdown against the fucking Broncos. You know what? If I'm the owner and I'm watching in my owner's fucking box, I watch enough football. I'm not saying I'm a fucking football whatever, but as an owner, I watch enough football to know this isn't what it's supposed to fucking look like. And I had enough of watching this shit and listening to these fucking guys, and I fired them. And I can't blame them for that. They had fucking plenty of time to turn this shit around.
But Jim, the common denominator, right? I said it 5 minutes ago. When he let McCagnon blow 100-something million and run the draft and then fire him as soon as it was over. When he hired Gase,
That wasn't
when
him.
he brought in,
That wasn't him. He was in frickin' UK when that happened.
oh come on, man, you
Oh my
think
God.
phones work in the UK?
Well,
Like
Oh,
listen,
so
even
is
This
this
is
a
even
1984.
so hold
yeah,
on
listen?
a second,
It's not on his
Buckeye.
record.
Even I'll give you those, right? Just to say he should have never let McCagnon
Good
fucking
point,
draft the
Buckeye.
draft. But then we got Joe Douglas because of that, and then fucking Gase and this that. Listen, I'm not saying he's the perfect owner. I'm not saying that. You agreed, but we were talking like recent history with Joe Douglas and Saleh, and he gave them plenty of opportunity to friggin' succeed. And like I said, if I'm up there watching it, I probably couldn't take this shit anymore. Look at us, the Jet fans. Eventually, you can't fucking take it anymore. And you know what? The only thing I could do is fire the fucking GM and the coach at that time.
And
So,
but
also
there's
the
a whole
fact that
history of
you
this.
yeah,
do
but you know
remember
what?
you do rem
The whole history when 2009, 2010, no one was saying fucking Woody, bad fucking owner.
No bullshit. We had coaches come in and tell them this is the defensive coordinator you got to inherit. You have no choice. We had Matt Rule come in and say you don't have an option in terms of
No. I'm
players on
talking
the
about
it's
when the Jets
crazy.
were winning.
you
When the
you
Jets are
you
Yeah,
winning,
and then he brought in Tim Tebow.
you
Like
do
that was
understand.
brilliant. Tim
Yep.
You
Tebow
do
was
understand that. Well, that's on him, and that was an asinine thing he did.
Sack, it was disgraceful.
That was disgraceful. But as for the thing with Woody and Chris, he did tell. Listen, it was there. I remember it. He's in the paper. He told Chris, "The team's yours now." When he went to the UK, don't fuck it up. So yeah, we like to tie Woody into that and say, yeah, well, there's phones, and he told Chris what to do. Now, Chris took a call from Peyton Manning. That's how Gase got here. And so now that they want to blame Woody, they're like, yeah, well, there's phones. They must talk to each other. It's not
well,
on his record. Now you could judge from here on out.
What about Idzik?
listen again.
Let's
We're
not
not
forget
saying
Oh
Woody's
Idzik.
a
my
great owner.
God.
We're far from it, but he wasn't the reason the Jets have been a failure again. What are the Jets doing? They hire a guy. It failed again. Douglas and Saleh were all fucking lauded by the media. Everybody. It was wrong.
And
They
the
were
fans.
wrong.
Okay, who
They
hired John
didn't work
Idzik?
out. So now you fucking try again.
Who hired John Idzik?
Again, he's
The
not.
ownership.
Again, yes. And you're right. Jambi, you are right. It's not a love Woody fest. What it
Listen,
is
a lot of teams fucking swing and miss. Again, people talk about like people want to,
Yeah,
the
but when you're
Chiefs.
the same person who just continues to keep swinging and missing, you need to look at yourself in the mirror and actually put the clown nose on your actual fucking face. I mean, the fact that we're defending this guy is
But
nonsense.
wait a second. When they hired Sal and Joe Douglas, like they weren't spoken to as a clown show.
Wait,
They
who's
weren't,
talking, Jim?
huh?
Yes,
Oh,
Jim
he says
is.
he's a listener and then
Hector,
long
what are you
He
suffering.
build?
wasn't.
What are
The
you
Jets weren't a
building?
clown show when they made those hires. They weren't.
Kenny, get up
Yes,
there,
they were,
Kenny.
Jim. Come on.
They were not.
no, and
Joe
that.
Douglas. Everybody loved the Joe Douglas hire.
Oh, of course.
Listen, everybody loved the Salah hire. Listen,
Well, shit.
everybody into going into this year had the Jets fucking competing for the division and going to the
So
playoffs.
how are you not
It
angry at
it
the owner, Jim?
I am angry, but everybody wants. I am angry, but again, there is plenty of blame to go around, and I'm not one of those people. Sell the team. He's not. He's the fucking owner,
When
and you
you
know
run
what?
a bit,
He
Jim,
has
when
a
you run a
right to be
business, who's
pissed.
ultimately responsible for the day to day?
Yes, and again, there's some things when you're raising ticket prices for this shit that fans have to watch. You should be ashamed of yourself, and there should be people in his ear that if they're not saying Woody, don't do this, they're just as fucking incompetent. Jaime and whoever the fuck else is there. But
but I
again,
don't think you're allowed to tell Woody shit. I
a
think
lot of
every
people,
I
a lot of teams get their shit wrong, and they fucking try
yeah, but
again.
he doesn't ever get it right, Jim. That's the problem. Where is his moves that you point? You're like he got it right.
He got it
Well,
right. He hired Rex Ryan. He got it right. He hired the
That,
fucking.
if
He
that's our
hired
best
Mangini,
example, it's
who.
not great.
Well, he hired
well, listen, he
Mangini,
got it
who
right for 2
everybody.
years.
He hired Mangini. Everyone gives him credit for the Rex team, right? That was the right hire then, wasn't that not?
I mean, if that's our best moment with
That's
the
Best
Rex
sad.
moment. Hey,
Ryan news,
back to
it's
Well,
back.
bad.
That's sad. That was 20
unfortunately, the
years
Rex
ago.
Ryan 2 years was our best moment in the past fucking
God knows what.
That's
Since
what I was gonna say. Yeah, that is probably
that
our
is the
best
best
moment.
moment. Those 2 years. But again, I
Even
bring
the
up.
year
I listen,
before, they were
listen. I
competitive
bring
until
up.
Favre got hurt.
Listen. I bring up the Chiefs. The Chiefs now, yep, they're great dynasty. But before that, the Jets, the Chiefs didn't win a Super Bowl for 50 years. They did everything the Jets did. They got Montana. They had this. They had that. They never won.
No, Jim, they
Then
went to the playoffs every
Right.
year.
All right,
no, no, no,
guys,
no, no,
guys.
no, not every
Jim,
Every year.
year.
Jim. Let me. Sorry, I got Brian in here. Kaz, good morning. How are you?
I'm
Little
good. I'm good, Pete. How you doing?
yeah, you're walking into a Woody Johnson fight here that I do not want you to comment on right now. Brian, thanks for joining as always. You know, you've given a lot of time to me, and I appreciate you. Thanks. Brian, let me ask you before we get into the whole debacle of 2024.
Yep.
Brian, I have never seen MetLife Stadium so empty in my life for that Dolphin game.
Yeah.
Was I seeing ghosts like Sam
No,
Darnold?
well, it remind me of a preseason game. You know, I've seen it empty for preseason games like that. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't expect much more, Pete. You know, I thought, really a lot of the times during this drought, the last game of the season has been on the road. They haven't had many home games at
Yep.
that point of the season, so we haven't really seen it. A lot of Dolphins fans. It was cold, so yeah, it didn't really surprise me.
Yeah, Brian, as a fan, I want to go on a little rant to you, but Brian, can you answer this? Like, I know you write and stuff, but what can Woody Johnson sell us on? Like, Brian, like next year, I'm sorry, I don't want to go in. I want to bring some players back. I don't think Lazard should be back. I wouldn't be opposed to Rodgers coming back, but Brian, I don't want to go to games knowing that my team's going to be 3-14 next year with some of the talent that they have. And I'm overrating the talent a little bit, but what can the Jets sell the fans on? Because they lost thousands this year.
Yeah, I mean, look, the way this usually goes is you guys are salty right now, and then there's going to be a coaching hire. I think maybe that could excite you. We'll see. We'll see who they hire, and then they'll make some moves in free agency. They'll draft somebody that will get people excited. So you know how it goes, Pete. Usually, as pissed off as you guys all are now, you get excited during March and April and August, and I've seen you guys come back before from terrible seasons. So I think there's stuff in the offseason that will get you excited.
All right, let's hold Brian.
Nope, 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 nope.
Oh, sorry about that. Thank you.
You got it.
Brian, so what do you think they're going to bring in McCarthy here, at least to interview him?
I don't think so. We'll see. I wasn't on the clock yesterday, so I'm back today. So I'm gonna press some buttons today to see what they're thinking in there. But I do know they didn't really like him in 2019. When he was a candidate then. Obviously, Woody wasn't involved at that point. It was a different regime. It was Christopher. It was McCagnon running that search. So maybe, but I also just watching last night some of the national guys immediately linked him to Chicago and New Orleans and didn't mention the Jets. So that tells me, somebody from his side is basically saying that this is where he's expected to go. It doesn't sound like it, Pete. I don't think they're going to bring him in, but we shall see.
Oh man. Now, Brian, I will admit, yes, the coach may get a little exciting, when they hire him, but it's just Brian, they've broken me this year, and I don't want to make this space about me, but I don't know where to go, Brian. It feels like there's no hope now. That's why,
Here,
in my eyes, that's why I want to bring back Rodgers in some way. And do you think there's any chance of Rodgers coming back?
there's always a chance, but I think it's a small chance. I think it would have to be somebody who really wanted him as coach. Obviously, if McCarthy was in the mix, that would make it more likely. But I think he's gone, Pete. Just basically from the way he was speaking at the end of the year. Um, I think it'd be very tough for a coach to come in and have Aaron Rodgers as their like just in the building. I think he's going to overwhelm whoever the coach is. He's that big of a personality. Is he going to want to learn a new offense? I think it's complicated beyond just the argument of, oh, well, he's better than player X, like whoever your quarterback is. I get that argument, but I think it would just be complicated for a coach coming in trying to establish their program to have him there. I mean, Pete, do you root for a baseball team?
The Mets.
Okay, so the Mets, right? I kind of think about the Jets like the Mets. Like they had Verlander and Scherzer, right, going for it,
Yep.
and it didn't work. They had the big names, it didn't work. And then last year, they really didn't have that, and they had a good year. So, I really do think the Jets' year, whatever that year is, that they make the playoffs, is going to come out of nowhere. I don't think it's going to be a year like last year or 2 years ago where it's like, oh, they're the hyped team in August. I think it's going to be something where you don't see it coming. And that's what happened like with the Bills when they ended the drought. Remember, I think people think about like, oh, Josh Allen ended that drought. No, Tyrod Taylor ended that drought the year before Allen was there. So, I think that gives you some hope that, there could be a year where they just come out of nowhere and have some success because it's about the schedule. It's about staying healthy. I do think there's some good players on this team. So it wouldn't shock me, if they had a good year this year.
Yeah, Brian, to that point with the Mets, though, at least the Mets came out and said what their plan. We don't even know what the plan is. I know they don't have the GM.
They don't have a coach and GM.
I know.
How are they supposed to say the plan?
Yes, I know, but Brian, I'm not yelling at you, but Woody Johnson at least come out and say something.
I think
encourage the fans. Say something to us.
Yeah, I think
everybody thinks that. And Brian, don't get me started because I remember. You're not getting me started. You told me on the space the last time that you said some stuff, and then you heard Woody, was talking to other people about it on the sidelines at practice. This guy just can't get out of his way.
Well, let's see what happens with the GM and head coach, Pete. I think you'll hear from him after that, and I think Woody needs to get out of the way. I think he needs to let the head coach and GM decide what the direction of this team is and what's happening going forward. So I don't think Woody giving you that now would be very meaningful because the person who's making the two guys who should be making those decisions are not in the building yet.
Okay, Brian, I'm just a little passionate here. I'll be at every game. Nothing's going to change for me.
I know.
Brian, is Nagy still your top choice?
Define top choice because I think this got a little twisted here. I wasn't saying he'd be the guy I'd hire. He's the guy I predicted.
You picked him.
Yeah, I predicted him.
Is he still your prediction on January 14th?
Yeah, I'll stay with it because I'm not going to jump off of it. But I do think Aaron Glenn. There's momentum for Aaron Glenn. I'm not sure what the deal is with him in New Orleans, but I've heard that the Jets job is the one he wants.
Wow.
Yeah. So if they like him, I do think it could be Aaron Glenn. I don't know if experience is going to be something that hurts him, that he doesn't have, that he hasn't been a head coach before. I'm not sure of that. I do think, you got to know like the interviews they've done so far for coach outside of the guys who are out of a job like Rex, Vrabel, well, Vrabel not now, but Vrabel, Rivera, all the other interviews like with Aaron Glenn and those, they've been like 3-hour interviews in like virtually. So I don't think I think they've been kind of get to know you sessions. I don't think there's been a ton of discussion yet of nuts and bolts. I think that'll happen, when the second interviews happen. They can start interviewing guys in person next week. It's complicated though. If they are playing in the championship games, then they have to wait even longer. So, the Aaron Glenn in-person interview could happen. We could be 2 weeks away from that still. That complicates things. But I think there's momentum for him. But I do think Nagy has a shot at the job still, and I do think he's in contention for it.
Brian, last one. Are you always the go-to guy at the end of the year with Woody? Because he did come to you and say Saleh would be back with Douglas, and now he came out with this thing. I mean, are you his go-to guy for that?
I don't know. I don't know if I'm his go-to guy, Pete, but I try to have good relationships with people inside the Jets, and I try to build some trust. And I was it's not like they call me up and say, "Hey, let's do this." I spend a lot of time for weeks trying to convince people to talk to me, and I did it the last 2 years with Woody, and he did it. But I can tell you from just spending some time with him, like he's frustrated. Like he hears you guys. It's not like he's not in tune to what the fans are saying. So he knows it, and I do think he wants to find someone that can turn this around, and we'll see if he can do it.
Yeah, word on the street, Brian. Brick Johnson's in the anonymous section on this space. I'm just kidding. June, go ahead, because I know June likes Matt Nagy.
Yes, I do. What's up, Kaz? How you doing,
I'm good.
brother?
How are you?
I'm doing all right. Let me first start off by saying when you first said that in the space about Nagy, I wasn't that thrilled about it, but after doing a little bit of research, even though it's not your favorite, that's not a bad prediction that you made. I mean, he's when people hear the name, they kind of cringe
Yeah.
and not really. He's a good coach.
Yeah, well,
He's a decent coach.
he has a bad image for whatever reason, but if you actually look at it, he had a winning record in Chicago, which Chicago has basically been a bad team for a long time, and he went to the playoffs twice with Mitch Trubisky as his quarterback.
Yes.
Someone was just telling me if you look at the second year he went to the playoffs, I think he won Coach of the Year the first time they went to the playoffs. They were 12,
Yes, he
12 and
did.
4, but then the second one was like 9-7, and they said if you look at that year, he did an amazing coaching job that year of getting them there. So I do think he's better than the perception of him. And I also I don't know. He's from this area. He's from I think he's from Pennsylvania. He's from around Philly. I think I don't know. I like guys from the Northeast a little bit for the job. I think they know the my mentality up here and stuff. But so I think he's better than like you said. When you first say the name, people just kind of go, "Oh my god!" But I think if you actually look at what happened in Chicago, he got fired after 1 year with Justin Fields. So, which for whatever reason, Chicago keeps firing coaches after they draft a quarterback for 1 year. But yeah, I think there's some positives about Matt Nagy that people are losing just because of the name.
A lot of positive. And one you got to mention is he also made Mitchell Trubisky a Pro Bowler. Can you imagine that, huh?
Well, the Pro Bowl is a little. I don't know. They was the Pro. I don't put a
Yeah,
ton
so
of
is
stock in the
Mac
Pro Bowl,
Jones.
but I think he won. He won with them, which is impressive. He went to the playoffs with them twice.
Now, now, my thing is, I would like for you to help my fellow Jet fans out because they tend to think that this new regime will be leaning towards competing more than evaluating. Please let the Jet fans know that this next season with the new regime is not about contending for a playoff spot. It's basically about evaluating your roster.
I think it can be both. I don't think they have to go. Oh, we're not making the playoffs this year. I do think there's enough talent on this team that they can contend next year. Obviously, they got to figure out what they're going to do at quarterback, which is a huge thing. There's some other positions where they need help, but I do think there's enough talent here where they can be competitive and contend. So I don't think anyone's going to walk in the door saying we're not going to contend. I will say this: I think it could be the worst thing that happens to these coaches is when they overachieve in that first year. And then, I think you see with the Giants with Dable that first year, he had so much success. And obviously with the Jets with Todd Bowles, that first year kind of set him up where the expectations rose. But I think they'll be, I don't think they're a Super Bowl contender next year, but I think they can contend for the playoffs if they make some smart moves this offseason.
Cause you don't know what you just did to Petey right now. Petey's smiling right now. Oh my God.
I'm trying not to
Oh,
come off mute.
you smile. I know you
Let's
smile.
get to
I hear the
Buckeye.
smile. Get Buckeye. What's going on, brother?
Hey, Kaz, good morning. Thanks for
Morning.
giving your time. Kind of you. My focus a little bit is on the 33rd team. So
Yep.
I feel like the expectations on this should be bring credibility to a non-credible organization and get people in the room that we probably couldn't get without you. And I'm looking around and I'm not seeing the hot OCs coming into this room. I'm not seeing a lot of the hot prospects that we want to get in here. And now I hope you're wrong on McCarthy, because the fact that this organization can snub a nose at a Super Bowl winning, 600 winning percentage head coach is just baffling to me.
Yeah.
So I don't know why we needed the 33rd team to reel in Brian Flores, Aaron Glenn, and some of these others, and Rex Ryan. So some of these guys are not even getting interviews from other organizations.
Yeah.
So I don't know what this has done, bringing in the 33rd team to make this a better journey for us to change the path of failure.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think they were brought in to bring in to attract guys. I mean, like if you want to talk about Ben Johnson or whatever, I don't think Ben Johnson's gonna go, oh my god, I want to interview with the Jets because Mike Tannenbaum is in the room. Like, I think what the 33rd team was brought in to do was to do the research on the guys. So, like, I've talked to some people where people from the 33rd team are calling all these different people around the league and asking about, tell me about this guy, tell me about this guy. So they're kind of doing the legwork of hiring. Where I think probably if a GM was in place hiring head coach, the GM and his staff would be doing this. So they're sort of doing that for them, and they're in the interviews. Mike and Rick Spielman are in the interviews, so they're helping with kind of directing the interviews and the questioning. I think they're there basically to kind of help Woody through the process, and to try to gather a lot of information for him. And I don't think they were brought in to be like this, oh my gosh, we're going to get better candidates because of that. And I also, guys, like, I don't know that the Jets put in a slip for anyone that they were denied an interview for. Like, I know they had issues with Ben Johnson with, like, there's stories about Ben Johnson's personality and kind of how he would fit in this market that were concerns for the Jets. So I don't think and maybe he expressed that he wasn't going to interview here either. I don't know that. But they didn't try to interview him. They were not interested in Todd Bunkin. I know he's another one people talked about.
Liam Cohen,
they're not interested in, and I don't know exactly why, but they're not interested in Liam Cohen.
Joe Brady.
Joe Brady's interviewing. He's interviewing. Yeah, so
Well,
Joe Brady will interview
yeah.
this week because I mean they requested him. I should say. I don't know for sure he's interviewing, but I have not heard he's
Yeah,
not.
he's Brian. He's interviewing with the Saints after the season's over. I'm not too sure. I think the request is still
The
in.
question is, yeah, I'm not sure if he is for sure, but like
Right.
I think I had not heard he's not, and so they can interview this week. The Brady could interview this week. I would probably be. It might be today or tomorrow, to be honest, or they could interview. I don't know. The Bills are playing when. The Bills are playing
I'll land the
Sunday.
plane
Bills are
here.
playing Sunday, so he could interview probably Friday or Saturday
He
too.
he he
Yep.
said he's not interviewing until after the playoffs is over.
So it's over. Okay, so yeah, so then there's that.
I'll land the plane here, Kaz. If our finalists are Brian Flores, who obviously there's a stain on him in the NFL, right? Aaron Glenn, who's probably the hottest of the prospects, and I think there is some desire around the league.
Yeah.
Rex Ryan, no one in the right mind would even interview except for the New York
Yeah,
Jets.
Rex. I don't think Rex will be a finalist, to be honest with you.
Yeah, my feeling is this has really been as bad as could, like, the fact that you're not bringing in the hottest OCs on an inept offense organization.
Yeah.
And you can't get these guys. It's
Well,
terrible.
I think, but I mean, look, I've talked to people that know Ben Johnson, and they're like, he would be a disaster in New York. Like he's described as painfully shy to me. Does not enjoy doing press conferences. Can't really interact with the media. Like I know this stuff is not high on the priority list. I get it, but it is part of the job here, and it does swallow people whole. I've seen it. Like so. I do think there was some concerns just about his fit, here.
Yeah.
And so I don't think it's fair to say, oh, like they couldn't attract him. Like I don't think he was a perfect fit for them. But yeah, look, they went after Vrabel and he picked New England. So I don't think you can kill the Jets on that one. I don't think there was anything they could have
But
done.
how do you not prioritize McCarthy, right? How do you not say, all right,
Yeah,
we're the Jets. This guy's got a 603 winning percentage. He's got a Super Bowl. He's won 12
Or
games
even Cliff
multiple times.
Kingsbury.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah, so
I don't
Kingsbury
understand how McCarthy's not elevated to the top.
Kingsbury interviewed in 19, and he did not have a good interview with the Jets. That was not a good interview. I heard
But Kaz, according to who?
people I spoke to who were in the interview. So yeah,
But my only thing is, like, we know how this works. Like, who deems if someone doesn't have a good interview? Because
yeah.
are we so sold that the Jets know how to run an
No,
interview?
you can't be. But I mean, if they didn't like him in 2019, they're not going to like him in
I
2025.
get
You
you.
know what I mean?
I
So
get
like
you.
he didn't interview very well with them, and some people thought it was because he knew he had the Cardinals job, and he just kind of went through the motions with the Jets, like he wasn't really interested in the job, which may
Yeah.
have been the case. But yeah, and I think and McCarthy interviewed. Uh, I didn't hear his interviews bad, but I remember they had some concerns about some things about him. And look, McCarthy, you can't argue with the winning percentage. You can't. But there are things about McCarthy that you hear that I don't know. It's amazing that he wins like he does when people talk bad about him. But and maybe they still will interview McCarthy. I don't know, but I don't think so.
Obviously, Itzig did interview well, so I just hate that narrative. That's all.
Yeah, I just don't know
Oh
what you want to
God,
go
John
off of though.
Idzik.
If you don't go off the interviews, they gotta like they gotta go off of the interviews. And the Isaac one, that was Jed Hughes. That was kind of a different time, but yeah, it was a bad hire. They've made bad hires for sure.
Yeah, guys, let's keep it moving here. We got a lot of hands up. Just try and be thoughtful. Your buddy Giambi's up next, Kaz.
Bry, how are you? The great Brian Costello. Brian, we could talk about these names: Cliff Kingsbury, Aaron Glenn, Flores. The thing that baffles my mind the most is, first of all, I mean, they hired their GM and head coach. The hope, at least with the general manager, was that they get a head start. They're out here interviewing guys like Ryan Grigson and some other guys that for head coach. They interviewed the Maryland head coach,
Yeah,
who apparently is friends with Tannenbaum. Like, let's get the ball rolling here. I mean, and when it started, the Jets were the only GM opening there was. Now the Titans have already announced their second round of interviews. The Raiders GM job opened up. Like, get the ball moving here. And the fact that they're having these head coach interviews before they even have a GM, like, it's going to be another forced marriage like McCagnon and Bowles. Like, I don't know what they're waiting for. I mean, to be honest with you, like, Borgonzi is the guy that I want the most. Hallaby seems like he's highly regarded. He's Howie Roseman's right hand man. Like, those are probably the two guys I want. But I mean, honestly, Brian, a GM should be hired by this weekend, the latest. Like, the Patriots already hired Mike Vrabel. Like, we need to have an organization and do things right. The fact that we're doing these things at the same time is asinine to me.
but you have to. The timing, you have to, because like look now, the Cowboys can't interview Aaron Glenn. The Cowboys can't interview Ben Johnson, like, because they waited, right? Like, so if you didn't interview them last week, you can't talk to them until after if they make the championship game, until after the championship game. So like those were first interviews, right? They're
Is there
recorded.
a lien on the GM search at
So
least?
I think the GM search will be done. I think you'll have a GM in place by early next week at the latest. I think this weekend is probably could happen. I think it could be, and then the GM will be in on the second interview. So I think whoever the GM is, they can talk with you know Woody and Mike T and Rick and Christopher and Jaime and say, here's who we liked in the coaching interview the first round. Who these guys, whoever the GM is obviously going to have a short list of coaches that they want to work with. Then you bring them in for the second interviews, and then the GM is in on the second interview, and the GM does it. I mean, this is what Washington did last year. That's what I would give you guys as kind of like proof that this process is okay. Spielman was involved in Washington last year. They did the initial head coaching interviews before they had a GM. They hired Adam Peters like probably right around this time. And then they were doing head coaching interviews the following week, in person, and ended up with Dan Quinn. But so you kind of you can't wait on these head coaching interviews. You have to do them. You have to do the first interviews, or you'd be really behind. You'd be far, far behind. Like the
No, I
process.
understand. All I'm saying though is they hired Joe Douglas in season, so some of these guys who are on other teams, I can completely understand that. but guys like Thomas Dimitrov, or even
Yeah.
with the head coach, like interviewing Rex Ryan. Why didn't you interview Rex like in November or December? Like, I just feel like interviewing these guys who we all know really have no shot. Like, it just seems like a waste of time. And what I meant with the GM is, like, are you hearing an actual name that might be like the favorite? Like, again, like I want Borgonzi, but are
Yeah.
you hearing an
No,
actual
I,
name on
I
the
think they're
GM
going.
seat?
I think Borgonzi has a good shot. I think he's a. I think he's a popular choice. But no, I'm not hearing a favorite right now. We'll see when they come out with the second interview list. I would not. I don't think Ryan Grigson will be a finalist. I know there's
Thank
panic about
God.
Ryan Grigson.
From your lips to God's ears, Bry.
So I don't think he'll be a finalist. But I do think Borgonzi is a guy that has a good shot at the job. I think Hallaby has a good shot at the job. But yeah, I think they're probably doing. They have to interview Brian Gaines still from Buffalo and John Eric Sullivan from Green Bay are the ones that haven't interviewed yet that we know they're interested in. I would think those would probably happen today, and then I think they'll probably sit down and start whittling down the list and figure out who they want to have in for second interviews.
And no Arthur Smith. Oh my God.
Yeah,
Thanks, Giambi. Brian, by the way, I left out the fact of Woody, spurring. I know he did it last year too, but raising the ticket prices,
yeah,
that didn't help either.
no,
I don't want to get rolling again on a rant, but
I don't know.
I apologize for the fan rant, but it's just they got to do something here. Sack, go ahead, and
Hey,
then Kenny.
good morning, Brian.
How are you?
Good. So prior to you entering this space, we're having a heated dispute, and I'm being kind of labeled as a Woody supporter. But I just see things 50-50, right?
You're brave.
Well, here's the thing. Independent thinker, I guess. So
You're brave. That was a good one.
my point is that when things work out, like 2008, 9, 10, there's no sell the team. No
Yeah.
one's talking about that. Things don't work out, you blame them. Now, I made a statement, and I like to hear your, clear it up once and for all. My statement was, he didn't hire Douglas, he didn't hire Gase, he didn't hire Sala, he didn't hire these guys. Now,
Yeah.
folks' rebuttal to me is, yeah, but he has a phone. So, but I remember that New York Post article where Woody Johnson went prior to leaving to the UK, basically told Chris Johnson, it's your team now, don't F it up. I
Yeah.
remember that. So my point is, how much influence did he have? Does he deserve all the blame? No Joe Douglas, no players blame, just blame it all on him. How much influence
Uh
did he have, and how much blame do you think
yeah,
that it should all go to him?
he wasn't very involved in those hires. Sala a little bit more than the previous two because he was coming back. So but he wasn't in on the interview of Sala, but again, these are videotaped. You can watch them and you can say, yeah, that looks good or not, but he wasn't he was not that involved in those hires. Where Woody gets the blame is some of the stuff that after the hires of telling them what to do and some of his suggestions and being involved in some of the free agent decisions and those sorts of things. Like it's not really the hires of the coach and the GM. You're right; he was not that involved in the last three hires because he was gone. But since he's been back, he came back in 2021. He's definitely he leans on the coaches and. If he's not happy, he lets it be known, and he can be very involved, and some would say over involved. The guy I'll point to, like to your point of like, the owner gets the blame when you're losing, and then they become a good owner when you're winning, is James Dolan in this town,
Yep,
right?
I
So
brought it up.
if we talked 8 years ago, James Dolan would have been the worst owner in New York, for Knicks fans, and then he hired Leon Rose and Tom Thibodeau, and it's worked. And now, James Dolan isn't talked about as the worst owner anymore. So
Yeah, but
if
people
Woody,
still hate Jim Dolan. Let's not.
People
Jamie,
are talking about Jim Dolan right now, though. Like they don't. Like I saw Evan Roberts in a list. He ranked the owners in New York, and Jim Dolan was, I think, near the top of the list. Like I think so.
and Brian, and this is my point. I guess what makes it unpopular is pointing out the hypocrisy. So when Woody
Yeah,
was on the plane and they were flying to California to woo Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
Everybody and their mother on this, not on the space, but just in Jets Twitter and all over Jetland were going bananas. The guy doesn't play well, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, you see the
Well,
hypocrisy in the fans
well,
sometimes, and I'm a fan.
that's being a fan. That's being a fan. That's what it is. Like I think too. Like I seen like Mets fans like Steve Cohen should go sign Pete Alonso. Just go do it like himself. Forget David Stearns. But is that meddling? Is that a meddling owner if he does that, or is that or do you love it when Steve Cohen does everything it takes to get Juan Soto, or so it's
Yep.
yeah, obviously fans, it depends on if you're winning. And I think if Woody, and I do think too, if someone comes in here and they're winning, I think Woody will leave him alone. I don't think he'll be the guy micromanaging every little move. I think he starts to micromanage when he feels like things aren't going well. And then sometimes he makes it worse with his micromanaging.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, all right. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Zach. Kenny, real quick before I get to you, Kaz, just give me your overall grade on what you graded Rodgers this year.
Ooh, that's a tough question, Pete.
Sorry, want me to get
And
back to
I'd
you?
probably go C plus. Because I
Okay,
think,
I'll do a
look,
little.
obviously the numbers were the numbers, but I think if you like, I know everyone on this, watched every game, and if you watched every game, the numbers were kind of empty a little bit. Like there was sometimes where he was throwing 2-yard touchdowns and things, and he didn't do what I thought he was going to do when he came here in 23, which was hide this team's warts and help them overcome the deficiencies and win games for them in the fourth quarter. We didn't see a whole lot of that. So that's where I ding him on. And it's obviously I grade him differently than I would have graded like if it was a rookie quarterback or something like that, because I had high expectations for him elevating the team, and I don't think he really did that.
Me too. I'll get you some more rapid fire a little later. Kenny, go ahead.
What's going on, Brian? How's everything?
Hey, Kenny.
Petey, you let me down. I wanted to have Giambi do his Joe Beningo impersonation with Kaz. Did you ever hear it? Did you ever hear it?
No,
Kaz,
I had somebody the other night.
Giambi.
Somebody the other night though asked me what.
We have the great Brian Costello on the line. Brian, I'm a little upset with you,
Yeah, yeah.
okay? Tell your friend Adam Gase, okay? And Brian, I know you like him, Brian. I know he's worse than Richie Kotite. And believe me, I mean, I could have my cat, Iggy, coach better than Gase. It's ridiculous, Brian.
That's good. Yeah, when he yelled at me, I was at the Newark Airport a few weeks ago to Buffalo, and he's yelling at me about Aaron Rodgers. So
But Brian, here's my question. Listen, they bring in this 33rd team to basically bring in guys to interview, but it's a waste of time because every Tom, Dick, and Harry's been interviewed so far. So what the heck's the sense of having this 33rd team when they're bringing in everybody? Who's next going to come through the door? Adam Gase, Rich Kotite? Isn't it really a little a little
well,
dumbfounded
I mean, look at
how they bring in this organization to hire people, but everybody, and they lost me when the Maryland
Maryland
coach got an
coach. Yeah,
interview. They're better off interviewing me.
yeah. That was a weird one. I do think it maybe it was related to the Rooney Rule. I don't know. And maybe they were trying to get their ducks in a row there in case Vrabel gave them hope, like that they had a shot and they had to move quickly on Vrabel. I don't know, because that was a weird one. I agree with you. That was a weird interview, but I think you can look at it as they're being thorough. I think they're doing all these interviews, and I think they're gathering a lot of information about how different organizations do things. I think that's an element of this too, guys. Is you're not just you're trying to find
Yeah,
out.
but they're bringing everybody in.
They
They could
are.
have they could have had the same interviews without this 33rd team.
They
It's
could
like,
like. I mean, look. Yeah, I always joke with them because, like, when anyone gets fired, the first thing my editor says, "Oh, we need a list of like who could be the next coach or GM," and I always do, and I always joke with the Jets. I'm like, just give me the $4 million or whatever you're going to pay your consultants. I'm like, I'll give you the same list. So I get that part of it. I do think, though, like I said before, they're doing a ton of research for them, and I've heard from people who've gotten calls from the 33rd team where they're asking about these different candidates, and I think they have done a good job in terms of gathering information on people that they wouldn't be able to do without them. Kenny, like I don't think Woody and Christopher are sitting around calling everyone who's ever worked with Brian Flores, right, like if the question with Brian Flores is what the hell happened in Miami, right? What happened with him in this relationship? So you want to talk to as many freaking people as possible who worked for the Miami Dolphins or played for the Miami Dolphins when Brian Flores was there. That's not something that Woody Johnson is doing. So the 33rd team is doing that stuff. They're talking to all those coaches. They're talking to players. They're talking to everyone about that. And I'm just using Flores as an example. You want to know, like, is Josh McCown, like, you want to know from the Vikings, like what he's done there with the GM candidates. I think the hardest part with the GM candidate, like Mike Borgonzi, okay, he's great. He's part of the Chiefs. What's Mike Borgonzi been responsible for with the Chiefs? Like, I want to know. Like, so I need to talk to a lot of people with Kansas City, and not people. You got to find people that are going to tell you the truth, right? And maybe it's people that aren't there anymore, that kind of stuff. So that's what the 33rd team is really doing behind the scenes. Is they're doing all the due diligence on these guys, and then obviously Tannenbaum and Spielman are helping with the interview process itself. They're in the interviews. They're helping conduct the interviews. I think.
Now, are they getting a flat fee basically
Yeah, I
to
don't
do this?
know, Kenny, but I'm sure they're making a lot of money. Yeah,
Yeah, because if they're getting paid per person, they're gonna be making a ton of money.
maybe
And I
that's
made a
it.
joke the other day. I was like, all right, so to get Vrabel in the building, Woody got charged 10,000. To get the coach of Maryland in the building, they only charged him $100.
Yeah, yeah. No,
So
it's
it's
look, and
That
there's
was a
there's a
farce.
thing, like the world of coaching agents is a very interesting world, right? And these coaching agents are under a lot of pressure to get their clients interviews. So sometimes interviews are done as favors to these coaching agents because you might need Jimmy Sexton down the line for something else where, like, and you say, hey Jimmy, remember I gave so and so an interview, like, we help me out with this now, or Trace Armstrong is a big coaching agent. Bob Lamont, it's these guys. Their world is their job is to get these people in front of teams for interviews. So that's part of it
Yeah,
too.
and I haven't looked through today. I know they got eliminated last night because Sam Donald, the slipper fell off, and he's
Yeah,
seen the ghost again. But I guess Flores will be lined up within
yeah.
24
Flores will
hours.
probably be in here. I don't know if it's 24 hours, Kenny, because there's probably some stuff he has to do in Minnesota now. I think actually them losing probably delays it a little bit because he's probably going to finish up his duties in Minnesota in terms of exit interviews and that kind of thing. But we'll see. I think he'll be in here within the next few days, or he'll be in Florida, I should say, or
Yeah, and
or virtual. I don't know how they'll do it. I say still virtual. It's still virtual. Sorry,
Kai.
and
Flores would still have to be
and and
virtual till
and
Yeah.
Monday.
according to our good friend Beningo, me, Joey, and Clark, Ira, and Joe B should be in on the meeting. He says we're better than the 33rd club.
Yeah, the candidates would run from the building though.
Real quick, Pete. Rich
Hey, Kai.
Samini.
Thank
Wait, hold one
Hold
second.
on,
Yeah,
Pete.
Petey.
Rich
Go ahead.
Samini just said that Dan Graziano predicts the Jets to hire Arthur Smith. Only the Jets would hire Arthur Smith. The Pittsburgh
Oh my
Steelers lost
God.
6 games in a row. That would be worse than Adam Gase.
Oh, that's his prediction,
Yeah,
though. So
you guys
I
can't
mean,
react to all these predictions. So, we all do our best, but none of us
Bri-
know. None of us know how it's going to go.
Yep.
yeah,
Brian.
Brian, I'm
That,
gonna get to Joe real quick.
that
Kenny, one sec. Brian, didn't you say last time you were on here that a lot of agents were reaching out to you
Yeah,
about the
yeah.
Jets
There's
job once the
yeah. They
33rd?
yeah yeah.
Go
The
ahead.
agents reach out to me and they want you to push their clients. So sometimes you see some of this stuff too, and I don't usually I don't like to do that. Like, I'll put guys on a list if I'm doing a list or something, because if they do it, but I don't. You won't see me like saying this person's great. Even on here, I'm not telling you, like, I don't know who's going to be a good GM. I don't. I honestly admit that to you guys. I don't know who's going to be a good head coach. I've been wrong so many times on this stuff. It's impossible to know who's going to be good and who's not. It is, because if you go back to 2021, everyone thought Saleh was going to be good, and Dan Campbell was a clown after that press conference. And look how it's worked out. So you don't know how it's going to go. So, but agents, there's only 32 of these jobs, so I get it. It's that people say, "Oh, the Jets job isn't that great," stuff, but there's plenty of people who want this job.
Yeah, let me get to. I see the hands up. Joe was in here before. Your buddy Joe
Well,
and
Brian,
Clark's up.
thanks,
Kenny,
and good speaking with
Kenny,
you.
All right,
go
Kenny.
ahead. I'm sorry, Kenny. I didn't realize
And
you weren't done.
obviously, listen, whoever they hire, it's all gonna take 3 years, 3 years minimum to turn this around. So we'll see. Because in 3 years, I'm sure we'll be having the same conversation. Who the hell the next coach is going to be? Because that's the cycle, rinse and repeat that we're used to.
You
Brian,
guys are beaten down. You guys are beaten
come on,
down, Kenny.
Brian. Do you blame us?
No, I don't
Yeah,
blame you.
Brian, I tell you, next year it might be you and the beat writers in the stadium and no fans. The way this shit's, from what I'm hearing, how many
I know.
people are just giving the tickets up? But it's crazy. But Brian, always a
Thanks,
pleasure. Really
Kenny.
appreciate it.
Joe, go
What's up,
ahead.
cuz?
Joe, I see the Juan Soto
Yeah, I changed my
avatar, huh?
picture. Yeah,
All right,
what the hell? I need something. I need something to look forward to
there
with
you
my
go.
teams. It's not a lot.
Kaz, real quick. Joe wants Stearns gone already. Just so you know.
Don't get me started with that. We could talk about that for a long time. But no, but Brian, a couple things. One is I would be shocked if it doesn't end up being Aaron Glenn. I just feel like I felt like that from the beginning that it was going to be him. I'm not happy about that. Though I don't really want another newbie first timer here. But I mean, the fact that he did play in New York, and maybe that'll help a little bit. The fact that he played for Parcells, whatever. But I mean, look, as long as they bring in a strong OC.
Yeah.
The question is though, who do you see more importantly? We know Rodgers is not coming back. Who do you see? There's not a lot of choices out there. Who do you see them bringing in as a quarterback, next year to compete with Tyrod Taylor, who we know is just he's a backup and he's always hurt anyway. But who do you see? I mean, Justin Fields. Do you see
Yeah.
somebody they
I
could?
think it's going to depend on who the coach is for sure. But yeah, I think Fields is a possibility. If you're looking, you look around and you see what Sam did this season, not talking about last night, but he had success this season. Baker has obviously kind of restarted his career. Jared Goff, you could argue, you can put in that conversation too. So who is there a guy out there who hasn't done well that you might want to take a chance on? And Justin Fields to me might be that guy. I think he requires a coach who's going to use him a certain way. So there's not a lot out there though. You're right, Joe.
How do you feel about Daniel? How do you feel about Daniel Jones?
I don't think he could be here, Joe. I think he's a good. I think that'd be great if you're bringing him to the Los Angeles to play for the Chargers. But he can't come to New York. It's just there's just too much baggage. My thing always with these guys is when you go somewhere else, you're no longer the guy who was picked. Sam Darnold is no longer talked about. Oh, the guy who was picked number 3 in 2018, right? They reference the Jet stuff, but they don't talk about his draft status. Daniel Jones comes here, he's still going to be, he was number 6 pick in 2019, and he still has the baggage of the Giants with him. I would think about taking a flyer on a draft pick, on day 2 of either of the draft and seeing if you get something there and have him. And obviously they come in with the expectation that Tyrod is going to start the season, but you see if you can see maybe you can hit a lottery ticket there. But yeah, I don't know, Joe, who that guy's going to be right now.
Can you see Travis being ready at any point next year where he could actually get on the field or no?
I don't think you can count on that. I mean, from everything they were saying at the end of the year, he wasn't even in the building at the end of the year. I think that's a really, really serious injury he had, and it doesn't he wasn't on the field at all. So I don't think you can count on him playing next year.
And all real fast, I mean, I told you earlier who I thought was going to be gun to your head right now. Who do you think's coach next year for the Jets?
Gun to my head right now, Matt Nagy. I'm staying with my guy, my
I know
pick.
you've been on him for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Okay, all right,
If it means Berganzi, I'm all for it.
all right. Thanks,
Yep.
Kaz.
Joe, thanks. Thomas, and then Justin and Kaz will get. Kaz, thanks again. You always
No
been
problem.
gracious, with your time. Thanks, man. Go ahead, Thomas, and then Justin.
Hey, good morning, guys. Good morning, PD,
Good. How
Brian.
are
How we
you?
doing?
Good.
We're good. Good. First, PD, I just want to say, listening to you talk about Aaron Rodgers, and I think you got to scrap that idea. I honestly feel like
bringing him back is like getting back with your ex-wife. Like I just I don't know if it's a good choice for anything. And quite frankly, and I'm sure Brian can probably touch on this, I feel like there's probably candidates that are coming in saying that they want nothing to do with Aaron Rodgers and everything that comes with him. So, like, I'm sure that's probably one of the first conversations had with a GM or coach, whoever's coming in the house. But
Yeah,
um,
Thomas, real
Brian, I
quick.
got to,
I think
yeah, yeah,
Thomas. I
yeah,
think
yeah.
I'm in the minority. Most Jeff fans want, and I don't care. Most fans want Rodgers gone. So I get it. I just want to somewhat have a chance to win next year, and I'm probably wrong. So I'll admit it. I'm just tired of going to
I,
games and walking out a loser all the time of a game. I'm just tired of
I
it.
think you're more likely. I think you're more likely to become a winner sooner if you dump him and start fresh than if you put a band-aid over a bullet hole and bring him back for another year. But that's a different
That's
story.
fair. Go
Brian,
ahead.
I got to ask Brian, what do you think in terms of the organization? Because obviously with everything goes on with Woody, you know that there's some inherent baggage with the Joe Douglas stuff,
Yep.
with the Salah stuff. Like there's a lot of stuff that's been talked about. Do you think that I know you mentioned with the 33rd team that it was kind of utilized as a way to kind of
Hmm.
navigate the waters, get some intel. Do you think it was also used as a way to soften the blow to potential suitors? As a way maybe not to have, Woody out in front of all this just because of everything
No,
that comes
because
with him?
Woody's still the one making the decision. He's still in the interviews. Like it's not like he's not part of this. And ultimately, you're like if you're making the decision whether you want to take the Jets job, like you're going to be working for Woody. Like he's not going to England, right? We know that now because that was a question at the beginning of all this in November. He's not going to England. He's not leaving. He's going to be here. So, I think these guys have to figure out whether they can work with Woody. And obviously, they're doing. I'm sure, like I said, that the 33rd team is making their calls. If you're a candidate for this job, you're making your calls too. And they're talking to Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas and guys who are in the building about Woody and figuring out whether they can work for them. But again, there's 32 of these jobs, so somebody's going to take it. But I don't think the 33rd team really changes that aspect of it because um, Woody's still going to be heavily involved in the interviews, and then obviously you're going to be working for him.
One more thing for you, and I appreciate. I've been listening. It's great everything you've given. Um, as a Bills
A
fan,
Bills fan, you're in a Jet space.
is there? Of
Yeah,
course, of
Brian, I
course.
get you. Brian, I
It's a
collaborate a
hot
lot with the
topic in
Bills
this room.
fans, but yeah,
You got a couple of Bills
a
fans
lot of
up here,
Jeff
brother.
fans get upset with me, Brian. But one day you should listen, or it gets wild sometimes. But it's all good and fun. Go ahead, Tom.
Is there any, as a Bills fan, and I'm looking out for my best intentions, and what's weird is I've never rooted for the Jets to do something, but is there any chance you guys would go after Spagnolo? Because honestly, I'd love for the Chiefs to take one of their limbs out, and I think he is such an
Yeah,
imperative part. Like,
yeah. I mean,
have
look,
you heard of him
they're interested
getting
in
an interview?
Spagnolo. They put a request in to interview him. Um, he actually they did interview him last week. He's interesting, right? Because he was a candidate in 2009 when Rex was hired, and he was actually the hot candidate, if you remember, entering that process because of what he had done with the Giants, and obviously everyone in New York knew him from the Giants. Um, so yeah, I think he's a possibility. I have not heard him as like a favorite or anything like that, but Spagnolo, he did it didn't go well for him with the Rams as a head coach, but that's a long time ago now. So we'll see. But I think Nagy's more likely than Spagnolo if you're talking Kansas City, which doesn't really help you as a Bills fan because it doesn't take Andy Reid out of the equation.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, hey, Brian, appreciate you. Have a great day.
Thanks, Thomas. Shade, and then Jarek, and I got to get wrap this up, guys. Go ahead, Shade.
Thanks, Petey. Good morning, Brian.
How are you?
Good, good. So mine's a little two-part questions. I'll try to get through it as fast as possible. Um, with the GM and the head coach search, is there certain qualities that they're looking for? For example, I think one of the reasons why they're not interested so much in the hotshot offensive coordinators is because, and I said this in the space before, to me, there's rarely offensive guys that build cultures that hold people accountable, aka Andy Reid, McVay, and all of them. So are they leaning towards more a guy who will hold people accountable, which
Yeah,
we lacked last year?
I think they want leadership. I think they felt like that's where one area where Salah was lacking was the leadership component. So I do think they do want that. I think that's a hard thing to identify in interviews, though, right? Because you come in and you can project that in an interview and doesn't necessarily happen um, when you're there. And obviously, as an assistant coach, you're not always doing that. You're not setting the culture like a head coach does. But yeah, I think that's part of the attraction with Aaron Glenn. I think he kind of projects that leadership and holding guys accountable. Definitely, I do think they're looking for that for sure, and I don't think they're hung up on like which side of the ball the guy comes from and does this have to be an offensive guy. I do think the staff is hugely important for all of these people, and like that to me, of all the questions you're asking in the interview for the head coach, that's the one I want to hear the answer to is who's going to be on your staff, who's going to be your coordinators, who's going to be the offensive line coach, because I just that to me is the most important job that nobody talks about. They just design the running game, they set the tone, and the Jets haven't had a good offensive line coach in so long. And you look at some of these teams around the league that are having success, and they have good O line coaches, and it's just a huge thing. So to answer your question, though, I think the leadership and accountability part is a huge component of what they're looking for.
And last to finish up, whenever they do decide to hire the GM, is him being either a rookie GM or a vet GM have anything to do with who they would hire coach wise?
No, I don't think that would influence the coach hire. I think they ideally they like to have one of these jobs be someone who's done the job before and not have a new person, a first time GM and a first time head coach. I'm not saying they won't do that. I don't think they're like locked into anything, but I think ideally they'd love to have somebody in the building with some experience at one of the jobs. So we'll see, but I don't think necessarily if they hire a first time GM that means they definitely hire an experienced head coach. I don't think they would do that, and I don't think too. I think I know sometimes people are trying to put like this candidate with this candidate because they work together, like Flores and Grigson or Borgonzi and Nagy. I don't think necessarily that's the case always. Yeah, I don't think they'll be locked into anything like that.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, Shade. Jarek, go ahead, and then I'll get Kaz going in a minute.
All right.
Go ahead.
All right. Hey, Brian. I wanted to ask a question. It pertains of why they decided to take the head coaching fine instead of the GM fine. Of course, it's not ideal. Of course, my Bills. We did with Sean McDermott, hired him
Yep.
first, and then we hired Brandon Bean. But I do wonder, why? 'Cause it's not really ideal for a lot of organizations to do it. Did for the most part was he not confident in terms of finding that GM search first? Did he find that it was just a much easier job in terms of finding that particular head coach? And I do also wonder too that if he finds that particular head coach, what's the impact in terms of the head coach helping Woody Johnson or helping or whoever's a part of the process in terms of helping find that GM so that they can have that perfect pairing, that perfect continuity? Because obviously, some of the things that's been going wrong in terms of organizations that those two just haven't, that those two position groups haven't been on the same page.
So you're asking the timing wise, head coach versus GM? Is that the question?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think ideally the Jets know that I think head coach is the most important job in the building, right? Like if guys, they're the ones who set the tone. They're the ones that build the culture. They're the ones that are the guy that's the face of the franchise and out front. So I think ideally, like the head coach is more important than the GM. It just is in terms of the presence in the building. But I do think the Jets will end up hiring the GM first when it's all said and done because of the timing and the way the NFL rules are set up, where they can't interview any of these guys in person until next week that are employed by teams. So I do think the GM will get hired here. I think by early next week, I think you'll have a GM in place, and I think that GM will then be a huge part of the head coaching second round of interviews and be involved in picking the head coach. Where that's different than someone earlier referenced Maccagnan and Bowles. Maccagnan and Bowles was an arranged marriage where Charlie Casserly and Ron Wolf basically recommended them to Woody, and he hired them. I think they had like one dinner together, and then they were hired. And so that's not the same thing. I think if you hire a GM, by Sunday or Monday, and that guy is then in all the interviews. The interviews could be over the next 2 weeks if teams are in the championship game that they want to interview guys in person. And then the GM sits down and says this is who they like, and and everyone's kind of on the same page. I don't think that's quite as an arranged marriage as what Bowles and McCagnon were, and I think this process can work that way if the GM is picking his guy. And I do think these GMs, one of the things the Jets are asking all these GMs is who would you hire as head coach? Like, give me your list. So I think there's going to be some collaboration between whoever the GM is and then the people that have been doing the search already for the Jets with the 33rd team, Woody, Christopher, Jaime. And I think this process can end up being an efficient one.
All right, Brian, a few quick rapid fire, and thanks
Yep.
again for joining. We're up against the hour. All right, so you already said Rodgers, no. Okay, will C.J. Mosley be back next
No.
year? Will there be a coach on this staff that'll be retained?
Yes. Boyer.
Okay,
I'll go
who do you
Boyer.
think? Wow, so
Again?
he's going to revive 4
I'm
regimes?
just guessing here, guys. Like, obviously, I don't know who the coach is, but
Okay,
like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just can see Boyer's like, look, Westhoff survived a bunch of regime changes too, and I'm not, I know Westhoff has a much better resume than Brant Boyer, but there's guys that survived. Remember Bob Sutton? Remember Bob
yes.
Sutton was there with Al Groh, and he was there with Rex. Like, there's guys that survived. So
Didn't he go to Kansas City after
he
that?
did go to Kansas City. Yeah,
Yeah,
when Andy Reid went to Kansas City, he went with him.
yep. All right, Lazard?
No,
No, I'm assuming.
no,
Okay, let me see here. Devontae
no.
Adams.
The gray
All
haired
right.
security guy who looks like a soprano extra.
Yes, but
Bobby's not going anywhere. All right, Brian.
Bobby needs
So,
to get a headset like Big Dom.
yeah, well, Big Dom's not in, he gets criticized a lot. How about what happened down there the other day? What a
Yeah,
disgrace. Uh, all right, Brian. So, all right. So your prediction is Nagy, and you think Borgonzi
yeah.
for
I'll
the
go
GM?
Borgonzi for the GM too. Yeah, but
Okay.
yeah, it's the GM one is really hard to figure. Like I said before, that the GM thing to me is that's even harder to hire than the coach because at least with the coach you sort of seen what they can do on the field, at least, scheme wise and stuff. GM, it's just like what does an assistant GM do? Like, what do they get credit for? What? It's very hard. So I think hiring the GM is tough.
Last one, Brian. I think it's a must. The Jets have to bring back Jamie and Sherwood.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I mean, must it might be a little strong, but I think they sure would. And you're not bringing back Mosley. Now you just have Quincy at linebacker. Like you're starting. You're really creating a hole at that position. So I think Sherwood will end up being back.
Yeah, that's why I said a must. I mean, but I don't know anything, Brian. I never get what I want with this team.
Just
So,
no
is it?
Ryan Grigson.
Yeah, Brian. I'll try and be humorous here. Is there a theme we should go off of for next year? Like they come out with, faster, greener, stronger.
No
What
more,
are they? Well, I'm kidding. I'm
no more
kidding. But do
themes.
you have anything
I'm
in
sure the
mind?
new coach. I'm sure the new coach will have some slogan. Pete, we'll see. Yeah,
Yeah. All right.
they need less slogans and more winning. That's what I would put on the doors this year.
Look competent.
Yeah.
Yeah. June, do you have anything for Brian? I'm going to let him go. Or are you good?
Nah, I'm good. Like I said, he said what I wanted to hear.
my
Nagy all day.
my theme, Pete. Just win. That's that's
Thank you,
that's what the slogan
Brian.
should be. Just win.
Yeah, hopefully when we get the new coach and GM, we'll have
All
you
right.
back on. I'm sure you'll be on in the off season.
All
Thank
right.
you so
Thanks,
much,
guys.
man. Have a
Hang in,
great day,
hang in
Brian.
there,
All
guys.
right,
Hang in there. All right.
we
Thanks.
All right.
will.
For
Thanks.
your
Bye.
lips
Go
to
ahead.
God's ears.
Go ahead, Giambi. Send them off. The great.
The great Brian Costello. Ev, I'm sorry. I can't deal with Brian trying to tell me that Adam Gase is a good head coach. I just can't.
Oh gosh, that was great, guys. We're up against the hour. real quick again, I know Mark's daughter's going in for her procedure today. If we could all just put up a heart again for Sophia and wish her luck today, that'd be really great. And you guys, tremendous job by everybody donating, retweeting, liking, sharing, talking. You know, appreciate you guys very much, and love to the Torres family today and every day.
And this
If anybody's
commercial is
got,
brought to you by Manscaped. My penis looks big.
uh, hey, chill, man. I don't need that segue. Anyway, anybody got any closing? uh,
Yes,
anybody got any closing things?
Yeah,
of
yes, indeed.
course. That's me and Jerry's part right there. Jerry, please
Tear this motherfucker down.
tear it down. Brought to
I
you
see.
by The Commute.
I see my Drew Nansen here. What's up, Drew? Stevens in here. Who else is in here? Mike Ferrero, Neek, hello, Neek, Casey Ross, Marco Shepard, Nikki,
Me.
Office. Who else is down here? Tommy, uh, Renzel, what's up? Have a great day, guys. All right. We'll be back on tomorrow. Uh, I'll have another guest on, I'm sure, this week, James Foster, who does a lot of film
Pete,
on college players and
I'll
all
leave it
that.
at this.
So
If they hire Arthur Smith or Ryan Grigson, Costello talks about, oh, well, the general manager, I mean, granted, Smith was a coach. You've seen these guys in action. They stink.
yeah, I don't want Arthur Smith. Guys, have a great day. Brittany, Rusty's in here. Josh, thanks for coming in. Shade, Kenny, Sack, Joe and Clark, everybody. Hector. Great day, guys. Ciao.
34th team.